So not only did we have Powell open the door and signal that we're getting rate cuts in September, and then look, you didn't say we're cutting rates in September. That's not how it works. You signal that you're now open to it, and you're changing the focus to the data which indicates that you should cut, and that's what gets the confidence, and you see the IWM spiking and all that. But who knows what the president's going to say? I'm assuming there's going to be comments about this Canada deal, potential Canada deal, and reaction to that for sure. But I'm sure there'll be something about the rate cuts, and it'll be entertaining. I know that the names that Sharif looks at, these small cappers are having a fun day today. So it'll be a fantastic midday. You got the professor, you've got Joey options, you'll have Adara at the desk. We'll be back at 2 o'clock, but enjoy yourselves, everybody, and good luck trading out there. Remember, volatility probably not done for the day.
Boom! Greetings and salutations, beautiful people. Welcome to the Midday Show. That is your boy, Joey Options, and I am Sharif. And where are my people at in the chat? We have a lot of viewers today, and I'm assuming it has a lot to do with this market. Oh, baby. The Russell is up 4%. These small caps are going to absolutely blow the roof through this place. So let's get right down to it. Let's say hi to everybody. We got Sean, Hodge, Echo Max, Kicker Checker. Shout out to John S9932 and Marcus Zimis. Ben, we got Sinead O'Connor? Nick ID23. Shout out to Hypherek and BD. Gaming, Unconquered, and Matt Fitzpatrick. Shout out to you, my man. We got the real Gary F. and Douglas Bundy. Al Bundy, are you?
Oh, wow.
We got Buffalo Soldier, Adoption, Hinal Patel, my bad. Why not? Aces High, Dan ME. Let's go, Donkey Trader. I'm Mike P.D. Ryder. I like when we both do that, right? Mindset Mastery Evolution. Here we go. Let's go. Patrick Irving, Kirk D. Let's go. NCB Trader. And Keeping It Simple for me. I happen to like that name because I'm not very bright and I like to keep it simple. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Joseph.
Highly debatable on the brightness, but very colorful crayon in the box. All right, guys. Yay. Hey. Let's go, man. What a beautiful session. We're having a great time over here, and you can see the market is continuously climbing higher. Excuse me. But I love it when I trip over dollars to collect pennies. So let's pull up the screen here. Ethereum, good stuff. So what do? We put in our orders, we add to the position, we take some off, we add again, and then I'm like, all right, you know what? Let me go take a little walk down the street. Literally not thinking like, Joseph, wait a couple more minutes because then you're going to experience this and then you miss out on the whole run. So whatever I cooked up here early in the morning, I was feeling pretty good about myself until I seen this and I'm like, but comparison is the taker of all. I'm not even going to try to say that saying, but at the end of the day, it's not too bad of a look here. And you can see some of these mega cap tech names are continuing to climb higher. NVDA knocking on the door of 179. We have Bitcoin, IBIT, 6616. Ether starting to climb towards that all-time high. Adara.
No, before we go to Adara, I got to mention EQ is breaking out right now, guys. Just took $2, up 32%. There's the flat top breakthrough, 195. Keep your eye on this one. Look for the 2 hold, but it may not hold 2 initially. So I'm going to be looking for a 195 max dip trade. If it loses 185, the 10 penny range there, we're going to let this one go. EQ breaking out 33% Adara.
Breaking news on not one but 2 stocks here, and one of them is actually Nvidia. So we'll start here with CSX because this one is moving pretty aggressively to the downside. CSX and BNSF are announcing these new intermodal services, offering seamless coast-to-coast rail solutions. Stock is tanking on this. If I get any more context on this, I'll let you know, but Benzinga doesn't have it yet. I'm just seeing this right now on X, and the stock is not reacting positively. So again, I'm going to continue to find more info on it. NVDA, meanwhile, breaking to new day's highs. They just announced NVIDIA Spectrum XGS Ethernet, which is a scale across technology, which will allow for the combination of distributed data centers into one unified gigascale AI superfactory. So nice announcement here for NVDA, but CSX still dropping again. If I get more context in that story, I'll let you guys know right away. Back to you.
Joey.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Adair. So what I wanted to take a look at here, guys, obviously this is going to be our chain, and this is the overall market, so NAS 100 right here, the Qs, and I'm looking at the money IV, but I think I have to add the implied volatility metric here because that doesn't seem right. 21% is still relatively cheap. Guys, let me know for everyone who has their chains up, what are we currently sitting at?
Oh.
And there goes Google putting in a new leg higher. I'm keeping my eye on that one, obviously, with that Meta deal. That's some positive news. We like that as well. But again, guys, I'm just looking at the overall crypto space. And I mean, our guy, Tom Lee, Dan Ives, whoever it was, said, hey, watch out, because what we're going to experience here is a midweek pullback. And then by the end of it, we're going to continue to climb higher.
So where are all the ETH bears at now?
So we're like, I'm like, okay, Tom or Dan, whoever you may be. Bang, let's go. And you couldn't have been more right at the end of the day. Look at this massive engulfing candle. And I would not be surprised by the end of the day if we knock on that door of this all-time high of around $36 on ETHA. And that's obviously going to put Ether right around that all-time high.
Yeah, what a call by Tom Lee, bro.
Yeah,
That's
man.
Crazy. All right, guys, I'm in one position trying to work into several more. Let's talk about the first one, OPEN. Yeah, there's a flat top break brewing here at 445-ish. I still like this one into the 10 EMA. If it loses 430, we're going to get Gonzino on this one, and then we'll look to set up again near the volume weighted average price. Right around that 410 area is where I'm seeing it. But I called out EQ for you guys. I got a couple of dip trades set up here. Now, they're trying to shadow too. My idea here is that we got up into 216, but I like the 195 area breakout. So you never really know if this is going to lose the whole dollar area or not, which is why I'm trying to front run the whole dollar area for a beak wetter, or sorry, not a beak wetter, an entry, a resting order there to go long. But if it continues to hold up above this 205, we're going to have to punch in long and then possibly get a retracement back down into key technical levels. So going to keep my eye on EQ, but there's a whole bunch moving. So let's get right down to business and look at exactly what's moving here. ELAB, the number one gapper at the moment, but it's just barely above that volume weighted average price, and it is making significantly lower highs, with this area crest here at 368, followed by a 338 area crest, and then a 325 area crest. And here we go. We're going to break down below VWAP. In fact, we just tanked to 280, right back up into 3. Let's see how this one trades. It's got to start making higher highs for me to get involved with this one. OPEN we'll get into a little bit later on. I misspoke when I said ELAB was a number one gapper. It's MODV. MODV. This is a good entry here possibly on MODV, so I'm going to have to digress for a second and look to weasel in. We're going to try to get long here in front of the dollar, but I don't mind defending it into that $1 area. So we're long at 7s for that 10 EMA retracement, but that 10 EMA retracement also jives with this area crest, which is a previous area of resistance. Look for that possibly to act as support. It's buoyed as well by the 10 EMA being right there, kind of conflating with the same price level. So we'll keep an eye on MODV. PGEN is a holdover from yesterday. You'll see the ticker there, and yesterday's fantastic price action that took us to about 11 o'clock. And that's when the algos got turned off, and we just basically hugged VWAP the rest of the day. Alas, we held yesterday's closing print in the pre-market at around 3 2/3, and up we go again into 411. We're below the 10 EMA right now. We're below $4, but we're above the volume weighted average price. We're going to keep an eye on this one and see if we can weasel in. NFE as well. This one's going to lose its spot momentarily here on the side chart unless it gets back above that 270 area. It was doing well. It looked bull flaggish, but breaking down below technical levels of no interest to me at the moment. Pesky. How many times are we going to talk about PSKY? And look at the day this one had yesterday. It didn't give up almost anything. The high of the day was 628. This piece of crap ended up closing at 1605. So 1605 off that 1628, and basically the day prior, it had closed at 1390. So really closing towards the highs shows you the strength on Pesky. And then last but not least, ANTE. This one is below yesterday's high, which concerns me because there could be bag holders from around 3 1/3. Alas, it is a fantastic little move there from the pre-market at around 9 o'clock, and it's all gas, no brakes through that $3 area. But be on the lookout for $3 to act as resistance on an intraday basis. The reason I say that was the pre-market consolidation level before we tanked at around 12:30 yesterday. So ANTE in focus. We're going to keep tabs on that and see if we can weasel in. But I see ELAB is breaking out here, Joey. It's going to have to get above 341 for me to get involved. But look at MODV go, baby, right up off that technical level. And we're long, where are we, 7s? And we just wet the beak at 15. So let's go ahead and set up some more beak wetters here for the high teens. Joseph Wilson.
Yes, sir. But at the end of the day, guys, let's continue to climb. This is exactly what I want to see. You could have honestly closed your eyes, hit the keyboard a couple times, and then just hit long on your montage or your level 2, whatever it may be, and then probably chances are you would have made some cash out here. So yeah, exactly. It's a really good look here. So I'm going to be patient, sit on my hands. There was an opportunity to get in at the lows of this consolidation, but I did not do that. So shoulda, coulda, woulda. And it's all right. We live with what we got. Adair, what do you got for us?
Yeah, I just want to let you guys know, I've been reading through this report from Bloomberg on Canada apparently potentially removing its retaliatory tariffs on certain U.S. products. So I just wanted to go over this because now I've had time to go over this report a little bit more. Apparently, Prime Minister Mark Carney of Canada is set to announce this decision on Friday following a meeting with his cabinet. So that could be today that we get this announcement. But let's go over what this actually means. So apparently, certain items will no longer face a 25% tariff. Okay, back to you.
Okay, guys, MODV is breaking out to the high side. Here we go into that $1.25. We're up 121%. Keep your eye on this one. It's at day's high. It's taking out the $0.25. Here we go into 25s. We're waiting at 25s. Seller at 25. He got blown out. We're setting up in the 30s now. Good look right now on MODV. Keep your eye on this one. And EQ is also breaking out, but it's the MODV show into that $0.33 right now, guys. Keep your eye on this one, but be careful for that $0.33. I'm talking about 33s. That is a technical level from a few days ago, so be on the lookout for that MODV. Sorry to interrupt. We can go back to Adara.
I'll finish what I was saying here. So I just want to let you guys know with regards to these tariffs that Canada is potentially, again, removing on the U.S. It's not going to apply to every item, and even the items it does apply to, they're only removing it if these items have been shipped in compliance with the provisions of the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement or the USMCA. But however, Canada is basically trying to mimic what the U.S. is doing. So certain items are still going to have that 25% import tax for these U.S. items. That'll be steel and aluminum and these U.S. automobile tariffs. Again, this hasn't been announced yet. It's just been reported by Bloomberg. But Carney, Prime Minister of Canada, is expected to announce this today. Back to you.
All right, guys. Yeah, so this is what I'm looking at here as well, too, is Tesla. Tesla, not too bad of a look. Gaurav and I just talking about this consolidation. If you can catch the lower end of the range, and then you can maybe take an additional leg higher. So that's the game plan right there. But also what I was keeping an eye on is this. So we had this topping tail signal, and then sure enough, it was just blown past. So we did establish a new high. Keep your eye out on that one just in case it does decide to take an additional leg higher. Market seems to be cooling down right now, but I don't know how deep these pullbacks are going to be, and don't expect too deep of ones, because considering what we've just experienced, the volumes is stepping on the buyer side, and you don't want to go against that until you have something like a display of stopping volume, and that's going to be a signature larger than anything we've seen displayed throughout the current time frames. All right, so keep that in mind. Tesla additional leg higher, Bitcoin just grinding higher, and this is exactly what we want to see here as well too. Going to be talking a lot of crypto, considering that we open up at around $63 and now we're trading at $66.40. So that's $3 in IBIT. How far have we moved in spot itself? We're going to figure that out right now. So we had a low of around 112, and then now we're trading at 116. So that's $4,000 roughly. But I've mentioned before, we haven't seen it as much once IBIT became optionable and the ETFs coming out. The volatility is slightly skewed. We don't get those $10,000, $12,000 days as often as we used to, but I would not be surprised if we get that here today, Sharif.
All right, guys, this is a breakout show right now. So EQ breaking out again into the highs. 222, we've got the high of the day currently. into 221. It got into 22s. It didn't cross, up 37%. Gonna look to defend 2 on this one. I already have a dip trade south of 2. We've taken about half the position. So goes MODV. They're both breaking out at the moment into the day's high. MODV, as I suspected, finding resistance at the third of a dollar. That is a technical level from a few days ago, so be on the lookout for the reversion here. I think we've got 5s on at the moment, 7s, excuse me, as we... How's that even 7? Oh, 6.5. Yeah, okay. So show 7 on your side. We'll keep an eye out on this one into the third of a dollar. So that is really all I'm looking at the moment. All right, so we're keeping an eye on this one as well. OPEN, it's been holding the 10 EMA on the 5, but it is coming down into that quarter dollar. And as I mentioned, anything below 20 pennies gets me out of the trade. So let's go ahead and do that right now. We're gonna put in that stop at 19s. I think I already put it in, but I'm gonna double check just in case. And then we'll give it to 15s. I'm assuming that should be good. Let's double check on that other stop that we had there on OPEN. Yeah, they're both actually the same. Oh, wow, that's hilarious. Okay, so that's 2 stops there. Anyway, ELAB, there goes EQ into that 2.25. We take out the high of the day at 25. It's now up 40%. We're going to look to get back into this one as we've exhausted our shares, so we didn't get the dip trade, sadly, south of that $2 area. So we're going to look to set up again. I'm going to be basing my entries and exits on EQ, on prior bar lows. We've had basically prior bar low hold since the candle at 1035. So uninterrupted, higher lows, but dipping back down now. So it kind of feels good to have gotten out a little bit there. And there's the 33 on MODV into the high side again. So 2 good trades, Joseph options, but we got to keep our eye out on OPEN as this one is dripping back down. I'm not going to give it too much in the way of room. 19s is where I draw the line. So we're going to keep an eye out on that. I also want to point out to you guys ANTE. Where's my ANTE screen? Okay, so I don't have one up. Let's take off PGEN. ANTE. This one is at $3, and kind of as I suspected, this was going to be a bit of a resistance level, that whole dollar level. Alas, we are still putting in higher lows in accumulation of a $3 break. But I wouldn't be so quick to punch into that 3 or that mid 290s for $3 break. I would kind of insist that it hold at that level after clearing it before getting in. But here's going to be our first L of the day, and we get stopped out through the break of that 20 penny area on OPEN, so we'll give a little bit back, but I don't mind setting up again at that 410 area. The volume weighted average price, we'll look for a bounce off that level, Joey.
Thank you. Yeah, Joseph options is what we might have to go by now. No, it's good. Hey, if people are liking it, they're digging that one. So guys, we're involved in some Tesla. I mentioned I want to get in at the lower end of the range, and that's what we got. So you can see that we got the back end of that consolidation, now looking for a continuation of that trend. Bitcoin is just continuing to grind higher. Let's go, and that's exactly what I want to see. If there's any specific names that you want to go over, let me know. But one thing I will do, for the individual who asked me to take a look at the expected move, I'm going to pull that up for you on PDD. That is reporting Monday. Okay. So let's pull up that and see what we're going to cook up, and then we're going to correlate with that our EM with the options chain. All right. So PDD pin duo. Oh, what kind of nonsense is that? Okay.
What
happened? No, I was looking at something else, right? Okay. So you have to go to obviously the correct setting here. So that's going to be August 28th, whatever it may be. 7% expected move, 68.9% at the money IV, a high of 136.25, 118.40.
Thanks, baby.
Are you coming here?
Oh, okay. Showing us so we can drag the mic.
Oh, we got a wire now. We got the wire. Bang! When you hey, we don't ask for much around here.
Oh, here we go again.
But when you ask for a longer wire on the microphone, you get it. But anyways, guys, in all seriousness, that's what we're expecting. Pardon me. Yeah.
Where his likes at?
Well, hey,
Throw
anyways.
the likes for Fabian,
Hey,
man. Let's
either
go.
way is fine. People don't forget, Fabian, don't forget. 7%, 68.9% is here it is.
Such a good movie. So good.
It's the best. It's the best. Now let's pull up our options chain and see what Pinduoduo is offering. And then we're also going to look at NVDA because we know next Thursday it's the much anticipated. I wish they would kind of bump their earnings date a little earlier so they can report with all the other meg names.
True.
But hey, you can't get everything in life, right, Sharif? Even if you
ask for a lot, Joey.
We don't ask for much, but we ask for a little bit more. Sorry, we'll go to PDD first before we go to NVDA and see what we got going on. So we'll go to next week here. 33,100. Now I want you guys to keep in mind at that $130 strike price, look how substantially larger it is in size compared to everything else, right? You have like double digits here, single digits, etc. And then over here is when you get the massive amount. So 33,100 current open contracts there. And for me, what we're seeing displayed, that's a call wall. So if you're during that earnings report, we run into that and reject, then that means, hey, the hedge funds are going to start pushing price down. But with the volatility, you also want to monitor what price action's up to, just in case you get that velocity stepping back in. So you want to keep your eyes on the tape and also the price action to see if you're going to break through that. But if you are going to, you're going to need that momentum, and you're going to need to have demand north of that specific strike price there. Street, before I send it back to you, NVDA, we're going to pull that up here one more time to see if we've grown in size.
Okay.
Yeah. So we haven't yet, and I'm really surprised because we know from prior earnings reports it's at 250,000 open interest at certain strike prices. 150,000 is when you're starting to see substantial amounts, and it hasn't built up yet. And I'm curious to know why, because last week we've seen quite a bit of open interest through the 185 and the 190, with approximately 160,000 open contracts and 120,000 open contracts at 190. So during come Monday, I'm going to expect that to grow substantially.
That's very important. All right,
Joey,
Joey.
it's hot in here, man.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, man.
I know. That's Joey Shivers. What's going on, bro?
It's hot in here.
Nah, that's crazy. It's not even that hot outside,
That's
dude.
crazy.
I saw a bunch of people wearing jackets on the subway today.
That's crazy. You know what's funny?
crazy.
You know what I was thinking about yesterday? So yesterday was 21 or whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
But at the beginning of summer, when you have 21 degrees, everyone is antsy to kind of get in their t-shirts.
Exactly.
And then it turns around that
21
mid-time,
now is freezing.
It's freezing.
Yes,
it's freezing.
yes, exactly.
All right, Tesla sucks. We're out of that one. I'm not holding on to that. Sucks to suck.
Okay, all right. We're in a new position now, ELAB. So this feels like it's going to flat bottom break or it's going to range. So I'm trying to play the range through 3. Already cut a couple of beak wetters. Let's see if we can move up into 15. That's my next little beak wetter there. Here we're showing 10s. I think we're long single dollar, single digits at the hole. Let's see if we can blow through that 10. Not immediately breaking out through that $10 area though. So I'm going to keep my eye out on that. I'm still holding my position here on MODV. We got top wick for now at 133, but it is coming down and it may break prior bar low. Prior bar low is $1.22 and we're at $1.23 now. We're in at 105, so I can pack my patience a little bit with this one, but I don't exactly want to hold the entire position back. So what we're going to do is we're going to wet the beak over here, just take out some as it comes a little bit down. EQ, I'm also involved in this one as well, waiting for prior bar low break. 208, got back involved in EQ as it still was holding trend, but it's got a topping tail candle now into 226. So if prior bar low breaks, that's the end of the trade. Simple as that. And here's ANTE. So we were waiting for this one to clear 3. Now it has technically on the ask 303, but take a gander at that bid. It just showed 92s. In fact, it's showing 92s again. For whatever reason, there's a divergence between the level 1 and the level 2. 92 on the level 1, 98 on the level 2. But here we go. Looks like we may be taking out $3 now. And I want to get involved in this one if it's going to clear 3 and hold above 3. And here we go. Okay, so we're going to get involved here with a 290 break. It's going to get us out because there is a previous area of resistance at 290. And then it cleared it, and then it held 290 as support. So let's give this one a try. We're not going to give it that much room. We'll have to keep tabs on this one as we're quite close to that whole dollar, and you never really know how these ones are going to act at around that whole dollar area. So we're into ANTE. What price did we get? We got 02s, so not exactly really in the money, showing 03s at the moment. Let's pack our patience. So what is this? That's the open trade that I already talked about. That's our loser on the day. And then we got stopped out of EQ as this one did break prior bar low. So we may be now coming back into that $2 area on EQ. Let's have a look at MODV, right back into the highs. And this gives us an opportunity to wet the beak over here, see if this one will end up holding area, Joey. So that's what we're involved in right now. ANTE, ELAB, and MODV, looking for continuation on all three. And shout out to the guy who tagged me earlier. What is his name again? Jack Bupkis. Okay, I didn't hear actually say that in the morning, but that's a good one. So shout out to Jack Bupkis in the chat. And yeah, you had to go through a lot to change your name there, buddy. So I hope it was worth it, Joey.
Yeah, you don't want things too difficult these days. You know what I mean? Like switching up iPhones and all that stuff. And anyways, look at this, guys. We don't have a single red sector on the day. All right, so in first place, we got the consumer discretionary. Second place, we got materials. Third, we got the industrials up 2%. Bottom three, still holding on to that green, guys. Healthcare up 1%. Utilities up 0.5%. And then we have consumer staples not performing too well, as Obi mentioned not too long ago, considering he was talking about Walmart. And I looked at Walmart's chart briefly to see if maybe, hey, we take a second day chance at this. Considering Sharif brought us the report yesterday, fantastic numbers, ad revenue growing as well too. So we like e-commerce growing. So those are the type of numbers that we like to see. Now let's go back to see if things have changed from a weekly standpoint. So surprisingly, Sharif, are the Qs negative or positive on the week?
They're going to be negative.
Negative. They are still negative. Bang, bang, and you get the winner. Hey. All right, so we're down still 1%, right, on the Qs this week. And then SPY, slightly green, all right? And then we have the Dow up about over 1%. And then the IW freaking M, as Sharif would say, up almost 3%, guys. So some really, really good looks in the small cap world. And I have a friend who owns a substantial amount of share in a specific company. And I'm like, hey, watch out for the rate cut. It's going to absolutely skyrocket. I'm not going to give the name of the stock or anything along those lines. But it's been performing extremely, extremely well. So shout out to him. It was my friend that I was actually in Chicago with, so we got to talk a lot about the market as well too. So yeah, that's what we got going on for top performing sectors. I think there's gonna be an opportunity to dip buy into Tesla. Maybe I'll take one more stab at it here. I think that's what I'm gonna do, just because I like this pullback. Volume was relatively cool, and I think we'll have the opportunity to climb higher. So as long as we don't breach this low, gotta give it 10 cents or so. But the market does seem like it wants to curl over, guys. Let me know what you think. Is the move to the top done, or are we going to slowly grind? You get that pullback on the 5-minute time frame. You can tell by this volume profile that we're slowly starting to stair step down in volume. So that's diverging, if you ask me, right? So we're moving lower, but volume is also starting to cool off as well. So that is telling me if you're patient enough, you'll have the ability to step back in. Buyers will take the additional leg higher, but if not, you want to see that volume increase.
There goes MODV again, dude. Another high of the day, 143. This one's going. It's up 150%. The strength is unreal on this one. It doesn't even have a bad volume profile. I mean, it's a dollar name, so we're going to have high standards for the amount of volume that's churned on the day, but we're closing in on 190 million shares, so not a bad look whatsoever. It's just really about this third of a dollar that was kind of concerning me given the technical levels, but it does feel like it might be clearing that now. There was a seller of note at 140. The seller has moved down into 139, and there's a whole bunch of wattage at that 139, now at 138. So somebody is really racking in the short or taking profits at these levels, which would make sense. I also want to keep an eye on Open Door because it's recovering quite nicely, but I am concerned that it still hasn't cleared that 10 moving average after breaking down below it sufficiently enough for me to feel confident that this won't be using the 10 EMA on the 5 as resistance. So let's keep watch now to see if we can clear this level. I don't mind getting right back into Open Door. It looks like it did find support at that 20 exponential moving average on the 5-minute chart. Not an area that I would have had a dip trade on for this one, given that it had been respecting the 10 prior. So we'll keep tabs on that, and we'll report back to you guys on it. Still holding my position here on ANTE, up 37-ish%. We're long at 02s. It's showing me 03s, but we have no profit takers at this level. My out is going to be below that 90 area. I perceive 90 to have been an initial resistance level And then once cleared into 3-ish territory, we started using 90 as that support level. So let's see if that continues to be the case or what the situation is. There's Open Door just breaking out again. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Let's see what this one is doing. There's ELAB. Keep taking out some beak wetters here on ELAB, but this feels like the best trade is kind of behind it. I don't know if I should just put it up prior bar low to lock in some profits over here because it's not really breaking out above the. Yeah, I'm going to flatten this out. If it ends up breaking out, fine. We'll just take the profits on this one and get at a dodge. Doesn't feel like it's all that strong, but there goes ANTE. Yes.
Go.
Through that $3 area. Now let's look for continuation. I'm waiting at 9s. It's showing me 8s. Let's go ahead up and set some more at 14, and then we'll layer possibly into that 20 penny area, looking to front run it at 18. So ANTE up 39%. Let me just give you the information on this one super quick. The float on ANT is about 14.1 million shares. Let's find out what the short float is on that real quick over here to see if we can get a squeeze candidate going. The short float. Okay, I don't know what it is exactly at the moment, so we'll have to. Oh yeah, it doesn't have that data. All right, so we'll maybe we'll find that somewhere else, and we'll get back to you on that one. Go ahead, Adair.
Honestly, I think this rally today was really, excuse my booster juice, I think what Bitcoin needed, because look at this 112,000. We actually wicked just below it yesterday, and maybe today seemed a little bit in worry as if we could even hold this level. We know 112,000 level was key because it was actually the previous all-time high for BTC. Now, as you can see right now, Bitcoin actually running into a little bit of resistance at this frequent resistance support level around 117,000. But other than that, a gorgeous rally here for Bitcoin. Let's take a look at the daily chart. As you can see, that 112, really important here for Bitcoin. And let's talk about the context. We know the overall market and some of these commodities were reacting pretty strongly either to the upside or downside in Bitcoin case and the market's case to the upside after Fed Chair Powell indicated there could be some need for policy adjustments, which is, of course, being interpreted by the market as a potential 25 basis point rate cut coming through on September 17th, which is when the Fed has their next meeting. Now, it's worth noting as well, I was just seeing this come through. Apparently, $250 million in crypto shorts have been liquidated over the past 4 hours. So, what 112,000 bounce, clearly scaring out some Bitcoin shorts. Now, let's see if BTC can continue to push back that 17,000 level, which we know is pretty make or break, and then make a new all-time high, kind of crack above that 125,000 level. That's our quick Bitcoin moment, if you will, as we send you back to the guys.
All right, PE guys, spike up all the way into a quarter, so you get that, not exactly a quarter to be fair. 23s is a high of the day, so you get that squeeze. I don't know, you've seen this story before. We clear we clear the whole dollar by a quarter dollar, a fifth of a dollar, whatever it is. It's not sufficiently far enough, and then down we come. So I'm going to be watching a reversion here, possibly on ANTE, but so far, so freaking good. I just wish that I got more shares at this level. So let's see if we can clear that quarter dollar. That's where I'm waiting next. Here we go again, showing 19s now on the level 2. Let's see if we can get up into 24 and then 28. That's where I'm setting up on ANTE, up 44.5%, Joey.
All right, cool. Good stuff, guys. The poll is now up. Does Ether hit an all-time high by the end of the day? Slight typo in there, but that's okay. That's my fault anyways. So, yes, no, who cares? 25% don't care at all. I was going to say something else. Yes to 46%, 31% say no. So those are some good numbers, and they're relatively close. A lot of who cares, and I guess it's the individuals who don't own anything. So it is what it is, brother. We can't. Yeah, I mean, hey,
I'm not.
Hey, I'm not surprised whatsoever. But to each their own, right? There you go. Tell them what you got, man.
And is absolutely flying, guys. There it goes again, taking out 28. It's into the 40s. There's the 50s, Joey options. Ooh. Boom, right into the high. What a move up for ANTE, 60% right now, guys. Let's move back to MODV, though. This is finding resistance at the $0.50. Be careful. 2 topping tail candles into this. If this one makes a new candle to make a new low or breaks prior low, I'm gone. Prior bar low on this one is 26s. Here come 28. We only have one beak wetter left, and we're waiting for that 50 print. We're going to flatten out here. Go ahead, Adara.
Ooh.
Just keep an eye here on the market because Fed's hammock, right after we had actually very dovish comments from Fed Chair Powell, Fed's hammock kind of indicating the opposite direction. She's saying that the Fed should continue with a, quote, slightly restrictive monetary policy. She definitely is in favor of holding, and her opinion seems to not have changed despite the comments we just got from Powell. So Hammock here coming out pretty hawkish today. Back to you.
Yeah, very, very interesting stuff there. Hawkish.
You got that in my head now.
You know what? I used to play Def Jam
my
Fight for New
goodness.
York, and that would be like one of my songs I would always play on that one.
Is that right?
Yeah, obviously, I'm assuming you have no idea what Def Jam Fight for New York is.
I know what Def Jam is, obviously, but not Fight for New York.
Oh, it's the best. It's the video game where all the rappers fight and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
It's
sick.
so sick. Yeah, it was probably one of the best games ever. Yeah, it was an old Xbox.
Is there a finishing
PS2.
move of note?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
dude, there were so many. Each guy, there's so many different rappers in there. It was sick. It was a really good game for those who remember
I
that.
like
Method
it.
Man was in it. Yeah, exactly. Good game. But anyways,
Super
guys,
chat
enough
there,
of the
bro.
video games. We have the best of all right in front of us. The gamification of trading is here in complete display. You can see it amongst the youth and everything along those lines. But we're in Tesla. I don't know why I'm trading this name, considering I've mentioned before it's essentially in a nothing zone. I think there's stronger names to be trading, and I'm kind of just talking myself out. So essentially what's going to happen here, should I have gotten in a couple pennies earlier? Absolutely. But I want to try to aim for the higher end of this range, considering the bull flag that the whole market seems to be forming right now. We have consistent higher lows, and that's something positive that I want to see. So I'm going to continue to monitor this. Bitcoin is still strong. I'm going to be going over a lot of the same names. And then we have, what is the all-time high on Google here? Because we got 204. So we must not be too far off of that here, guys. All right, so 207.16. So we're still a couple points away, but at this pace, I believe that we're going to breach that, and then you're going to see Google step into a new all-time high, considering that 6-year, $20 billion deal they just struck with Meta there, Sharif.
All right, man. Jedi 2828 dropping 500 Dominican pesos in the chat. Thank you very much. Jedi, appreciate that. Hey guys, do you think the rally will continue next week or at least move sideways? Overall opinion. Always hard to know how the market's going to digest information, into the future because there's just so many different variables that are going on right now. I was doing a bit of an analysis while we were waiting to come onto the show. I want to see how many different major economic data points we have from today's speech to the next FOMC meeting, which is scheduled to take place on, I'll let you know in 1 second over here. I had it up. It's going to be September, I think, 16th and 17th. So we'll get the actual rate decision on the 17th. Between now and then, we have so many different economic data points that can absolutely change matters. Jobless claims, GDP, balance of trade, non-farm productivity. You've got a bunch of different stuff. So it's kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say unwise, but it's just, I think we're still premature to be able to make that decision. But Joey, do you have an opinion about how we trade? Do we chop sideways?
Actually, absolutely.
Send it to Adara.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm thinking what we got here now is obviously everything was dovish here with this meeting. For me, I feel like the market is pricing everything in right now. So if this move is sustained, I think you'll have that priced in, and then maybe, I don't know, we chop around for a little bit and it's just a slow grind and you stay within a range, but that's my camp, Sharif. I think that the market's pricing in that cut right now, as we can see, and then we chop around for a little bit.
Go ahead, Adara.
Yeah, I just want to let you guys know these more hawkish remarks from Fed's Hammock just keep coming, and they're getting a little bit more explicit here as well. She's saying that basically a large weakening in the job market could drive the Fed to cut rates, but she also says here the Fed should be very careful about cutting interest rates anytime soon, saying that they do still want to get that 2% inflation target, but she does say that they do need to be cautious at this point with moving these rates, and she does, again, they want to get to a place where inflation is actually moving back to that 2% target before these rates do get cut. So just be aware here. Fed's Hammock making some more cautious remarks following pretty dovish remarks from Fed Chair Powell earlier today. Back to you.
Happy to hear you're having your best day ever, Casey. Get it, girl. And it looks like you've been a member now for 10 months, so thank you for sending 10 memberships. Sorry, that you're not a member for 10 months. You sent 10 Trader TV Live memberships, so there you go, guys. I think, yes, there you go. Bread Butter got one. So did BP 5541. And if you got one as well, it'll say there in the chat. Thank you, Casey, very much for that. Shout out to Party P. All right, I like that one too. Love y'all at TTV. Thanks for dropping all the trading knowledge day after day. Thank you very much, my friend, for the $5 super chat. Very kind of you. And thanks for joining Joseph and I on the midday,
yes, sir,
where the vibe is high today, my man. Just want to point out ANTE super quick here. Joey topping tail into 390, and here we go. We're right back down into that 3.5, 3 2/3 area. Be on the lookout here for a possible holdup at the $0.50. The prior bar did top out at 55. It ended up closing a little bit below 50, so I'd like to see if that $0.50 acts as a level of support, but it's an ugly looking topping tail candle right now on ANTE, up 62 and change. We'll keep tabs on that one, but MODV, equally as strong, not as volatile though. Stepping up little by little, so I'm going to be keeping my eye on this one. And last but not least, before we send it back to your boy Joey Options, we had a good trade and then gave back a little bit, to be fair, on EQ. It's setting up now at the 10 EMA, above the 10 EMA. In fact, it's using the 10 EMA as support on a 3-candle basis on the 5-minute chart, and it has higher lows. So you could find me here possibly getting back into EQ with a stop just a little bit below that $2, Joey.
Yeah, absolutely. Love hearing it, brother. I'm just thinking, what am I doing here with Tesla? It breaks 44s. I'm just going to hop out of this trade, and it's literally going off of my screen. I'm not looking at this stock anymore. There's plenty other names that have more relative strength, all right? So as the market's continuing to grind, like Ethereum looking like it wants to take an additional leg higher, Bitcoin doing the exact same thing, and I'm over here trading Tesla for some reason. I just got to stop trading it, and that's the last time I'm going to say it. So I get stopped out, and then that's it. So what else are you guys looking at? Let's go over some volume names just to see what we got cooking up. NVDA is still relatively strong, considering this is what I like to trade as well too. NVDA, nice hammer candle right out of the open, supporting volume. And then as soon as you punch through some of these pre-market zones, you're off to the races here. So an opening price of around 172 to 178. And I think we're going to continue to climb higher here. So patience, patience, patience. Give yourself a little bit of a wider stop. I heard somebody in the chat say tighter stop. I'm going to have to go against you on that one. Considering the volatility has stepped in, you want to give yourself somewhat of a wider stop. And you won't get stopped because if you have it too tight, chances of it just getting wicked out are relatively high, right? So be patient there. It cracks this low on Tesla. I'm out of that trade, and I'm just going to slowly be giving away profits on the day. And that's not necessarily something that I want to do, considering my past 2 sessions since I got back weren't the best performance on my behalf. So it's just like dock those little wins, little win, bang, you hit a couple bigger winners, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what we're looking to do here. Keep these gains locked in and not give away too much.
All right, Joey. We just caught Ant again on a little bit of a downturn there. Caught it at 3 1/4, scalped up into 340. Let's keep an eye out on this one. It did have an ugly topping tail candle, but it was an aggressive move into that volume weighted average price, as well as the 10 EMA, who are awfully close together. So that precipitated me to get into a quick position, but we did scalp out quickly on that one as, I'm going to tell you the truth. I don't really trust the move on this one. But bust the move. All right, so we're going to keep tabs on all of these guys. I'm still really interested in getting back into open, though, man. Not just because it was like my only loser on the day, but because it's setting up nicely. It's got a bunch of different higher lows off that 20 exponential moving average. I'm talking about that $4.16, $4.17 area. That's where the dip was. And now we've been kind of trying to accumulate a little bit to the high side. But when I look at it a bit further, you can kind of also see that we're still putting in lower highs. If you're looking at that area crest into 455, each successive area crest is a little bit lower than its predecessor. So I think I might still be a little early on this one. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. OPEN, I mean, it's fantastic. And there's a couple of catalysts for this. I mean, home sales came in a bit ahead of expectations. And now, as we project possibly more rate cuts, we don't really know what we're going to get, obviously, but as the interest rate environment becomes a bit more dovish, You could definitely see some more home buying, and as rates come down, obviously it makes things a little bit cheaper, at least in the short term, before obviously the demand as a result of the rate increases the prices again. But that doesn't always happen in every jurisdiction. That's the thing. It happens in the high density jurisdictions where there's a lot of demand, right?
Yeah.
So you could realistically see certain
it makes
areas,
sense, right? Like a lower population, right? Because you got more people looking to get involved into the market. And that's what I was essentially saying yesterday. Yeah, you may get the 25 bips, Sharif, but at the end of the day, over an extended period of time, if you have a bunch of people funneling in, what is that going to do for the demand? It's going to increase it. And then sure enough, you have these absolutely wonderful, I shouldn't say that, the realtors, well, rather, obviously they're going to start rating, oh, no, your house is worth about $100,000 more. No, it's worth $50,000 more, et cetera, et cetera. So for me personally, again, I'm just going to stay in the camp. You guys know where I stand on that one, just because you want to hit those 2% goals. And even though the Fed is pretty close, I would rather them just nail it on the head, get it done with, and then look for a potential.
Can I say something to you though, bro?
Absolutely.
Like we've had 2 3/4 here for a hot minute now. They've held rates for the last few times. So we've had 2 3/4. I don't know, a year, maybe a little bit less. Something like that. And I'm still seeing prices go down, Joey Option. Our economy. And I'm talking about Toronto too. I'm not talking about the surrounding areas,
understandandably so. But our
houses too, Joey, not just condos.
Yeah, for sure. I know what you're totally talking about. But you got to think our economy isn't as robust as the States.
No, it's not.
Right?
It's definitely not.
We're barely holding on to 1%, higher unemployment, et cetera, et cetera. Where the States is growing at 3% and their unemployment is still relatively strong.
It's a lot better than ours.
Right?
There's no question about that. You're not wrong about that. It's just, I'm thinking, we've had a very friendly interest rate environment. And let's just even be, even more honest about it.
Yeah.
A lot of the newer generation is getting the down payment from the bank of mommy and dad.
Yeah, of course.
Okay?
Of course.
And so if they're getting the, what's that?
I said, unfortunately, I don't have the bank of.
Well, yeah, exactly, right? Anyway, we'll go on.
Yeah.
But that's the point. The point is, so if that initial down payment is the one that's holding everything back, well, that's not really what is being spoken about right now.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
If you get my drift.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Yeah.
That the monthly payment could be a little bit lower, right? Especially with the interest rates being a little bit lower.
If you have variable mortgage as well too, right?
Yeah, and you can even have a bit lower if you get a variable.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know, man. I don't know. It might be a little bit different context, like you were saying.
No, but at the end of the day, Sharif, I'm not going to totally disagree on that. For me personally, we live in the exact same environment essentially, so we know what's going on, and we talk about kind of the shift of generational wealth from going from the boomers into the hands of their children, right? So at the end of the day, and that's the thing, right? So we get these rate cuts, but then you have this financial wealth shift going into the younger generation, and I think that's going to increase some demand as well too. I mean, 2016 and 2017 was absurd here in Toronto.
It was.
That's when we seen the exponential growth essentially, and obviously things started to cool down, post-COVID, etc. But for us, unemployment is extremely high, and then also our GDP is ridiculously horrible at that point. And a lot of it was due to our immigration policies as well.
Well, that had definitely a lot.
Oh my days!
All right, guys, just keeping an eye on some of these right now. Just weaseled back into Ant. Let's see if this one's got more juice to the high side. We're in at 62s. Does have some resistance at this level, given that no closing print on the last few candles did close above 60. So we know that there's certainly some resistance in and around that 60 area. Whether or not the bulls are going to be in control at the moment, we'll have to wait and see. Just trying to put the odds on our side here, looking to wet the beak in the high. Wow, Joseph, jeez Louise,
you're
bro.
telling me, man.
This is just going. It keeps on going. Every time you punch in, there's more. So we're going to take out a little bit here, and now we're going to set up in the high 70s again on Ant. Here's 74. People are getting squeezed. You can feel this. We definitely didn't see this kind of price action the last few days on the small cap gappers. Felt like these ones were being kept down with a very bearish outlook, a more hawkish Fed until Jerome Powell's speech today kind of changed the tune a little bit of the markets. So definitely keeping my eye on this one, looking for that print into the high 70s. We got a current bar high, I do believe, of 74. So there is somebody front running the $0.75, and here we are zigging and zagging at 70s. I'm going to move up my stop now to the loss of 60 to lock in those profits. So we move that into 59s. Previously, we had it below 40s to give it a bit of room, but I will remove said room. Now, MODV is coming down. So we're in at 7, and it's coming back into the quarter dollar. I'm talking about MODV. Where's my MODV chart? Here we go. So this is the 10 EMA on the 5. And this area over here where I got in, that's initially the 10 EMA. So do I add into this position? Decisions, Joseph. I don't know if I should be adding here. I only have one beak wetter left on MODV, so this would be a good time to add in as any, and I'm going to do just that. And here's the deal. We're going to risk a little bit. We'll give it to 19s. If it doesn't hold 19, we're gone Zeno. But if we're not going to take risk on a day like this, when the freaking Russell is up 4%, then, I mean, when are we going to take risk? So let's go ahead and do that, and we'll set up possibly at that third of a dollar. But I'm really looking for that 10 EMA to hold. If it loses a 10 EMA, 4% or not on the Russell, me not care.
That's all right. That's all right, my brother. Pulling out the patois there.
Mommy banks typically do hostile takeover and dads go insolvent. That's a fantastic line, Strobe. I love that, man.
That's usually how it goes. No?
Yeah, well.
But that's what happened. Hey, for all my fellow Americans and all the football fans, what's going on with my boy Travis Hunter, man? Poor guy. Poor guy. I don't know, man. That stuff is crazy in my opinion. The materialism is insane. But there it is. What do I do here? What do I do? Do I short this? Do I want to short it? I don't want to. But the signals are displaying themselves, and that's why you just got to follow what the price action is telling you. Why am I thinking about putting in a little short here on Bitcoin? Could be an absolute horrible idea, but you can see that we just continuously put in these legs, and then now we have this inverted hammer candle. And I mean, this volume signature isn't completely isolated, so that's kind of what's swaying me from not doing it. So I'll be patient, wait for a retest of these highs, and then I'll be able to put in an extremely tight risk to reward. So there it goes. Yeah, it's about to crack the 66.51 level, and there it goes right there. So yeah, starting to pull back a little bit. Same with Ethereum. Glad I got out of Tesla as well too. I won't even be looking at that name for quite some time until I hear that the Model 2 is out or something along those lines. So who knows how long I won't be trading that name, Sharif, considering the Model 2 may never come. But there it is, a nice breakdown in IBIT.
All right, Joey, we're still holding here on MODV after the ad at the quarter dollar, but it's not exactly holding. I've given it to 19s. We've got 22s, so we're 1 penny in the money. I don't mind allowing this to go a couple of pennies against me. We have to give it a try, especially based on what it did last time at the 10 EMA. I know no 2 time periods are created equal, but we can only put the odds on our side. That's what we're trying to do here using TA. I want to bring to your attention another small cap gapper, and this one is quite small. That's weaseled its way onto the scene. It goes by the ticker NXL, and this one started out its life as I want to say 73 penny stock from yesterday, and now it's got a high of 107. So here's the deal. This one was doing almost no volume at any point in the day until about 12 minutes ago, 11:40, all hell broke loose. And it printed, excuse me for a second, 1.4 million shares. Subsequent candle, 1.2.5 million. And then this one, 1.1. So we've got some good shareage going on over here. Let's see if we can kind of work our way and stay our way above that dollar area. We're at 102, but by no means is that a clearance and a hold of an important psychological resistance level. I'm talking about that dollar area. So NXL, I wanted to bring this one to your attention in case it does really get going here. I have not forgotten about EQ. I have not forgotten about ANTE, but EQ's got to set up a little bit better over here. Even though it's up 31%, it's been putting a whole bunch of lower highs, and that ain't the jam. So we're going to pack our patience and see what we get in the same way that we're keeping an eye here on MODV. If there are any other small cap gappers going on that I don't have a view on, let me know, please. Just tag me in the chat so that I can see the tag, just like Chuck of All Trades did right now, telling me about CGTX. Another one that we know quite well, and I remember it because I have my initials in it. So CGTX, let's find out about this one. Oh, Chuck of All Trades, you just won. I don't know, whatever you won. You won something there. This is fantastic look on CGTX. Very, very consistent higher lows, higher highs pattern. One momentary breach of the 10 EMA on the 5 at around 1120 and holds the 20 moving average, and up it goes again. And here we go, coming into that $2.46 area. So this one has earned its way onto the side chart. It's going to replace NFE, which is doing, as Obi said this morning, Jack Bupkis. So we're going to put CGTX on that side chart and keep an eye on this one. It is at day's highs right now, CGTX that is. Let's load it up. Oh my God, look at ANTE, man. CGTX, let's keep an eye out on this one. Into 46 it goes. How many shares does it have? 6.8 million shares traded on the day on a $2.50 name. Is not great, but it's not bad. But it's at the day's high, so we'll keep tabs on that one. Joey, what do you got?
Yeah, I got some guy in the chat, A7X210. Yeah, you know what, my friend? I hope you have a good day.
Block.
Yeah, instantly, right away, right away. He's gone. Yeah. But
straight to jail.
I'm gonna tell him straight to his face.
Straight to jail.
It's not even jail, my friend. I don't even. Again, people like you, I don't even know what to say. You're just a frustrating individual.
He's probably talking to me, bro.
Yeah,
I'm the one that
talking to you.
looks like,
Yeah, he is talking about you. But no, you're talking to him. You're talking to me as well too. So you got a problem. Holy truth, you have a good day. Yeah, I hope you have a good day, man. And you know what? Enjoy. Go outside, touch grass, and do what you need to do.
Aww.
But next time you come back,
he's probably
it's with
touching
a positive.
himself.
Yeah, of course
he's
he is.
got one
that's
hand
all he's got.
on the keyboard, punching in the bad position.
Yeah.
He's got another hand with the sun don't shine.
Yeah, who's red on the day?
Mommy's basement.
Who's red on the day?
Get your ass
you
out
are.
of here,
Yeah, see you, brother. 24 hours. Have a good one. Yeah, that's it. That's how we rock and roll around here. Adios, muchachos, man. Have a good one, and I hope your weekend is enjoyable. So, yeah, that's what it is. It's super clown, man, at the end of the day.
I love it, bro.
Yeah. Anyways,
good vibe.
He's gone. He's gone. You can't talk smack around here without catching a little heat from the Bash Brothers, that's for sure. But Ethereum looking pretty good, Bitcoin, et cetera, that's all the time. That's all the time he's going to give us and all the attention. So that's it. iBit looking pretty, I don't know. Looking okay. So, but that's the thing, right? So we took a couple of tenths on the continuation in Tesla, and I feel that the market is just slightly extended right now. So we got to be extremely patient in case we do get that second leg higher. The volume weighted average price is tracking the price action really, really well. So that can tell me that, hey, we're gonna potentially take an additional leg, as I mentioned multiple times. But here it is. It's just patience right now. You have a good trade. Wait until you have that A+ setup, and then maybe you can get a continuation in whatever direction you're looking for.
All right, Joey, we're just keeping an eye here on ANTE. We're in at the volume weighted average price. Let's see if this thing holds up. We got 43s, showing me 44s, 45s. Let's see if we can work our way up. It's not exactly rocketing up off that VWAP area. Now 46. Let's see if we can shake the seller. We've been selling at 46 for a hot minute here. I've been watching this. Now 47 showing up, but it's momentary. There we go. We'll get a quick print on that one. Now we got 40s on. Let's see if we can clear that level. A whole bunch of sell-in came in at 46 there, so let's wet the beak here again. All right, now showing me 48s, waiting for that $0.50 clearance, 10 pennies in the money, or give or take. Let's set up a little bit above that. Wow, Joseph, unreal this day, man. Pops right up, takes out my order into 55s. Let's see if this one's got more juice to keep going over here. We got 40s, you better believe anything below 37s gets us out of this trade. But here's that 50 print again. Let's set up in the high 50s this time and also layer orders into the 60s. ANTE is that gift, at least for the moment, that keeps on giving. It breaks through 40s. It takes away a little bit here, Joey, but we're going to flatten out at 37s if we do give back a little bit over here, but we've made our money on it. We're going to take that money and run like hell. Shout out to Party P.
Party P.
I love it. What do we got over here with Party P? No trader ever acts like a mad nerd on YouTube chat with a green account. Laugh my off.
Exactly.
Rest of the chat loves the show. Keep up the good work. We appreciate you, man. We appreciate the kind words, Party P. Thanks for joining us, brother. What are you doing?
It's ice in the veins.
Oh.
Didn't know?
Oh.
Well, man,
I didn't know that.
You hit that
I
three?
suck, bro.
Ice,
Sorry,
man.
Bro.
Ice.
I like that, Joseph.
Well, I mean, not obviously the drug. You don't want to.
Well, yeah. Joey, I just got to tell him about this one, man.
Tell him what you got to tell him.
NXL is absolutely breaking out, guys. And here we go. We gave you this one at around $1.03, $1.04. It is now at $1.16. Into the high. It's up 57, 58%. It's got the juice. Let some money loose, baby. Let's see how quickly and aggressively this can get up into the quarter dollar if it gets there at all. That's going to be my next area of psychological resistance that I'll be keeping my eye on. But you better believe at $1.04, $5, $6, I'm a buyer. That's where the volume weighted average price is. But I also want to point out one thing to you guys. This is one of those anomalous occasions where the volume weighted average price is a higher than the 10 exponential moving average on the 5-minute chart. It's $1.17 right now. That's the high. VWAP is at 104, while the 10 EMA south of the dollar at 98. So you could get a breach of the dollar, a breach of VWAP, if the algo, if the traders that are trading NXL are using the 10 EMA. This thing is all gas, bro. It keeps making new highs every time I look at it. $1.22 high right now on NXL. Let me just give you the information on this one before we head over to happening now and Neil's lesson of the day. This one has 14.9 million shares. Float, let's see if we're able to allocate the short float on this one. Yeah, no, we definitely don't get that information on here as much as we did on the other one. So maybe I'll keep an eye on Perplexity for this one. I'll have that information to you guys when we get back, but we're going to happening now, then Neil's lesson of the day.
Dang, what was for...
Here is the market. As you can see, the Nasdaq ran into tons of resistance with 574. We tapped this level more or less 3 times in the 15-minute chart, but in that most recent 15-minute candle, we gave up trying. We broke below 573 here right now, trying to find some support at 572. Let's see if that holds as we await comments from U.S. President Donald Trump. Now, in case you guys missed it, the market rallied here at 10 a.m. after we got the prepared remarks from Fed Chair Powell's comments at the Jackson Hole Symposium. Now, his prepared remarks are all the comments that he makes at the during the keynote proper, so there's no Q&A after, which means that once we get the prepared remark at 10, we get, after a quick digestion, the market will generally kind of have its mind made up, but in this case, it made its mind up to the upside after Powell indicated that there could be some policy adjustments, specifically, I guess, a decrease here in that interest rate at the September meeting. Now, we've already had Fed's Hammock speak since that announcement, and Fed's Hammock has made it clear that she thinks that the Fed should potentially wait a little bit longer before making that rate move. I also want to mention as well, we did have these Canada here on watch reportedly lowering, or I guess removing some of its tariffs on certain U.S. products under the USMCA. Now, White House officials saying that they're looking forward to continuing talks with Canada Trade and National Securities and said they're good. Canada's taking action. Now, again, to my knowledge, Mark Carney has not announced these yet, but they were just reported by Bloomberg, set to be potentially announced later today. Here is TSLA, Tesla, very consolidated here with that 335 support holding nicely, announcing that they're lifting their price for the Cyberbeast variant of the Cybertruck by $15,000. CSX on watch. This news catalyst is a bit of a weird one. It's still not even showing up here in Benzinga, but it's on Google and it's on X. What happened here was CSX and BNSF announced new intermodal services. Unclear whether the market reacted to this negatively. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to find much analysis, but I'm still looking. And when I find out why this happened, I'll let you know. But either way, the market did not like this announcement from CSX, and it dropped sharply right away. Sending you over to Neil and his lesson of the day. Stay tuned for comments from Trump. You guys know I'll be updating you with those. Get it, Neil.
Thank you, Adara. FOMO. That's the big thing that's going to happen on a move like this. There's going to be probably a million stories or a million traders, or at least tons of traders, hundreds of traders, thousands, whatever it might be, that'll have a situation where maybe you were sitting in a long right before the shakeout and Powell bumped the market like it was a rate decision and it was a surprise rate decision. That's the thing. You're going to have some sort of FOMO. Now, I know it's not easy to control your emotions when you miss out. Like, I was sitting in Rigetti long. I was sitting in SoFi long. Rigetti, right before the ramp, Rigetti ran the lows and stopped me out. SoFi, the breakout trade, that I'm like, this is the breakout trade in SoFi, that stopped me out. And when it went, like, no, obviously, if you were watching some of those moves, like the algos were in control for such a large portion of the move that really, what are you going to do? And I'm not telling you to be a robot. But what I am saying is, if you are patient enough and you can just say, okay, I'm not going to do something insane, I'm not going to chase, blah, 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 it can still provide you with an opportunity. The bigger, like the missed because the gigantic move has happened, the bigger the next opportunity is going to be, because volatility is now increased. So if I wait for a pullback to buy the dip or for another breakout, or if I catch a reversion, all of a sudden I know it's going to be huge. Now, obviously, I didn't get Palantir, and I said this live, but if you wait, you're going to set something up nice. And I set my sights on two things. Find a reversion, find a long after the reversion. Nothing else. 2 trades. Find a reversion, miss Palantir, I get it. Find a reversion, but then find a long. But make sure it sets up. Now, I can make the argument, okay, SoFi off of VWAP should have been a thing at 10.20, and the same thing on Rigetti. Some of those VWAP bounces were really, really clear. But what I like to do in that spot is try to find something that was not even remotely out of pocket. Something that, if I'm not in those VWAP dips, what's a long that I can take? And sometimes the market's going to give you something obvious. You find a stock that has a setup that you would normally like anyways to the long side if you've missed the VWAP dip. I'm not going to sit there chasing or fighting something. Well, if we're already going up, is there anything that is imminently breaking out a big level that I can take? And then I wait for a breakout trade. I don't change schedule. I like mean reversions and breakouts and VWAP. Okay, so I get a mean reversion and I miss VWAP and nothing is bouncing off where I would like it. So what's left for me? I can either find something which is breaking out a good level, or I can sit and wait for the next opportunity. When you get FOMO, the first instinct is to go chase somewhere else or make another execution, and that is a bad impulse. There are situations where, yeah, if you just chase the move anywhere, it's going to end up working out. I get it. I could have punched long at any point and open and just blindly found myself in a winner. But if I do that 10 times out of 10, how's it going to work? I know how it's going to work. It's not. You have to find a setup that is still a trade, where I know where my in is, I know where the reason I like the long is, it's at a key price level for this reason, and it's something that worked before. And that allows me to express the long. And it's the same thing with the short. Wait until something obvious sets up. Don't fight it. Like, I know there's levels out there. That you could try the short in. Like, I could have wanted to short at 166 because it's resistance. But I wait until it gets to 67, but not just until it gets to that prior day high. I wait until it actually shows a rejection of the prior day high. That's what patience is. And I'm not saying it's easy to have patience or not to get FOMO. It's not easy, but you only get discipline from sometimes sitting on your hand and watching movement and trying to find that sniper entry. And then over time, you will realize that if you display that level of patience once, twice, 3 times, it gets a lot easier. So, there's going to be a lot of FOMO in a day like today, but all you can ever do is find the next trade. Don't stop working because, it's going ham and you're looking everywhere. Just look for your normal setups and be very patient about it. Try to be calm. Allow the next, if you missed a dip, then know what your next setup after that. It could be breakout trades, it could be a reversion, and wait for the next one. And then try to get the next one. And if you miss that, then you wait and you try to get the next one. So that's what it's all about, everybody. As I see the boys are excited over there, so let's end this lesson of the day. Congratulations, everyone that got the long, but there are plenty of ways that you could have made your day in this kind of volatile market. Let's go back to Joey Options. Joey ETH and the professor.
It's Joey ETH is exactly right, Neil.
Yeah, that's
well said. Joey freaking ETH. This is show him, Joey.
Well, I'm not even in it. I'm not even.
Bro.
It's important. It's important. It's very important. Well, it's not that important. But
Look
anyway,
at this. It's break Joseph.
Yes.
12%. Oh my goodness. This is fantastic. This is absolutely.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
I know. They're hiding, Neil. They're hiding. No. I don't want to call
Let's
anybody
go.
else, but this is an aggressive move, Joseph. ETH, just the actual coin itself. The spot price, 11. We're going on 12% right now on Ethereum. Wow, completely outperforming Bitcoin. Solana as well. Let's put some dang respect on Solana's name. 9.6% too, Joey. Not a bad look. Not a bad look.
Yeah. I'm just a dance up a storm.
Were you doing the dance? The Dollar Club dance?
No, I was doing the isn't this the Habibi dance?
It is the Habibi dance.
Yeah.
You gotta do a little bit of a chest
We're getting that money, brother.
Man, there was a belly dancer. You know Jerusalem? The restaurant.
Oh, no, but I know.
If you're not
I'm
from
aware of the
Midtown,
place.
then you don't know. But anyway, there's a Middle Eastern restaurant called Jerusalem in Midtown. More uptown if you're quoting Katina.
Yep.
Every Saturday and Sunday,
They
have a belly dancer. But the thing is, Joseph, I think it's an abomination if there's a belly dancer when the light is out.
Oh,
especially if there's
that's
like
crazy.
light
What kind of
coming in.
madness-
Like
what kind of madness
it's a
is
night
that?
event, Joseph.
What
So it
kind
kind of threw me off. I'm not gonna lie. I went with the fam last week.
That is mad.
And I was just like, what is this, man? Someone turn off the lights or something.
You know what I mean?
This isn't turning off though. Go NXL, go. Here we go. Taking out the high of the day. Here's 122. We're waiting next at 125. Joseph is up big in his personal account. He's showing it to me right there. Shout out to Joey Options. Flex on him, baby. There you
we
go.
don't flex on them.
All right, we're
do it as
posting up
needed.
at $1.25 Joey Options on NXL. This is a 1, 2. Okay, I've traded 6 names. We're 5 for 6, baby. Let's freaking go. NXL, it's the day to size into these small cap gappers, but for goodness sake, practice good risk management skills because you're feeling good, the market's up, you know, these things are really squeezing. All of a sudden, you start DCAing aggressively into these positions, and all of a sudden, it's a red day. Nobody wants that. When everything's green like this, everything's up, you want to participate, you want to feel good. So just use risk management skills, guys. Stop loss orders, technical levels. You guys know the drill. These ones are around for a good time, not a long time.
Yeah, I can Tyler verse. I don't like to obviously. I show you guys those things. I show you my losses, etc. I just don't like to obviously brag or anything like that because that's not what we're trying to do.
Don't worry, baby.
But it's not what we're trying to do. Yeah, all right, but you don't gotta ask me twice, brother. We'll see what we got going on.
Ram. Did you buy ETH? Girl.
Ooh, but you own NVDA, right? You own NVDA. I'm pretty sure
I don't mean
she
to
owns.
make her feel bad.
No, make her feel bad,
she
man.
said she wanted
that's
to
what
buy
happened.
ETH,
That's
Joey.
okay.
You're gonna start throwing stuff at her?
At me? Why?
Guaranteed, her arm can't reach over here.
Yeah.
I'm willing to
Throw
guarantee
some.
that.
Get it. Do it. Look at
Her arm got.
Look at
it ain't got the
look
juice,
at the form.
Joey. It
The
ain't got
form
the
ain't getting
juice, bro.
anywhere past that desk whatsoever. All right, screen. You guys said Tyler verse. This is just for you. Tyler verse.
Hello forever.
Tyler verse. The Ty verse. This is just for you. Screen, please. Screen, please.
Assassino.
We'll
Thank
get
you,
there eventually.
Assassino.
Yeah,
Whoa!
so
It was
we're
higher
doing
than that.
It was. Yeah,
I saw a 12 print on that. I saw a 12 print on that.
Whoa, Fabian, easy
Get it,
there,
Fabian.
brother.
Take out that
Yeah,
monster,
so
baby.
yeah, I mean, it's not too bad, right? We'll take that. But again, this is kind of what we do at the end of the day, and we just want to continuously do those things, and that's just today, right? So we've been holding that position for some time now. But Adair, what do you got for us?
What I have here is Carney actually announcing here, as reported earlier, now we have an announcement from Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney saying that the decision there will be made to remove counter tariffs on all U.S. goods that are covered by the USMCA or the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement. That's going to take effect on September 1st, 2025. So as of September 1st, 2025, Canada will be removing its counter tariffs on U.S. goods that are covered by the USMCA trade deal. Again, this was reported earlier, but now being confirmed by Prime Minister Carney. Back to you.
Very much for that, Adara. Okay, so Jag asked a fantastic question. He said, Joe, why do you traders have C setups, B setups, and A setups? Well, this is how I'm going to tell you from my perspective. It's risk, essentially, right? So when you have a lower class setup, you don't risk as much, all right? You're just like, I like it, but I'm not in love with it. B class setup is like, okay, I really like this. I'm starting to fall for it, but I'm going to put in a little bit more risk. And then the A++ setup is where it's like, okay, I'm willing to risk 90% of my day. I'm absolutely head over heels with this setup, what's going on, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why you categorize that, and it's meant for exponential bet sizing, right? So when you guys see me add, it's like, okay, I'll start the majority of my positions as a C or a B class setup. But once it starts to work, that's when you see me add because I start to like it even more, and then that's the ability to just kind of categorize your style of trading. Sharif, what do you got?
CGTX, Joseph.
There you go.
Whoever brought this to my attention earlier, good on you. I totally forget. Sorry, I've got the memory of a goldfish. And this one is really, really breaking out now ahead of that 10 EMA. It is farther away from the 10 EMA currently than I think it has been the majority of the day. So let's do a little TA here, because I don't like, I mean, there are exceptions, of course, but I don't like to punch in when we are far extended away from the 10 moving average on the 5. It's just this bias that I have that we, we mean revert a little bit back into, oh goodness, did you get it as well?
No, I didn't get it.
I got it already.
I'm not tapped in.
Connection will be reattempted, but it's still.
I'm cooking over here.
So bizarre.
I'm cooking.
I wonder if my Fabian,
sure.
did you disconnect my Ethernet or something there, brother? Because all my
you're down.
Data is down. Fabian.
Yeah, you're down. All right, I'll cover that. You're definitely down. I'm still live here. So something got, yes.
You're back?
Okay, he's back.
Okay.
We're back, baby. We're doing it live as well. So good to see that, Sharif. Sorry, I'm going to steal.
You
good?
Go ahead.
Oh, you're not? Okay, all right, cool.
I'm not
So guys, we're only about 13 cents away from Ethereum hitting that all-time high. And that's why we put that poll out earlier. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we're not going to rub it too much in your face, but whoever put who cares in there, come on, you got to care a little bit, because this is what we do, right? As a trader, essentially, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter what vehicle it is, but we're looking to trade. So now we're pennies away from Ethereum hitting an all-time high. A really, really good look. I did sell a little bit of my position, but nothing substantial. Holding on to 2 1/4 lots. Nothing crazy, but it's just the positioning. Are you back now?
No,
Not yet? Not yet? Okay, we're going to wait. Yeah. So that's okay. We'll figure out what Sharif's got going on.
Yeah, it's just got to reset.
Yeah.
There, we're good to go.
Okay, he's good. He's back, baby. All right, so yeah, 34.97 was most definitely the entry here. It's unfortunate that we didn't get to partake in that, but I think there's going to be opportunities, especially if Bitcoin decides that it wants to turn around and start participating. But man, this is what I'm talking about. Being able to identify fundamental things that are going to change a specific asset class, whether it be during COVID, you have the COVID stocks, whether it be the weed stocks, whether it be the crypto space. You have to look and try to identify extreme fundamental changes. And I'm glad that a lot of individuals got to partake in what Ethereum's been up to. And for the people who've been holding it for a significantly longer time, congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations on you guys, man. Look, I'm not going to pretend like I've been holding it for a long time. I never really wanted to get into Ethereum, but then when you do a little bit more research, you see what's being built on the on their blockchain. You kind of like, okay, let me just get in a little bit and see what's going on. So we'll see how this all goes, but I'm kind of happy to have gotten into it. Sorry, guys, I got disconnected from the chat. We're back in. We're good to go. I'm only in one position at the moment. NXL coming back down into my entry price. We're in at 7s. Here comes 13s, 14s. The volume weighted average price is not what I perceive NXL to be finding support at. It's the 10 EMA, and we're still in the anomalous position where VWAP is ahead of the 10 EMA. So the 10 EMA goes down to 108. So my question is to myself here, do I add into that 108 given that I am long 107? Perhaps I add into 108, 109, and then a loss of maybe 105 gets me out of the trade. We'll risk very little. So we were kind of putting in these higher low candles first. So I'm just trying to keep my eye on any possible trend change. We did make, this candle has a lower high and a lower low relative to the prior candle at 1210. So that 1215 candle, lower high, lower low than the 1210 candle. So just keeping an eye on that, but it's moving back into the mid-teens here, into the 20s. Don't forget the high of the day is 23. So it's not exactly like we're far away from that HOD on NXL, and I've set up at the 25 penny area, so we'll see what we get on that bad boy. But it's really the CGTX show. And that's what I was trying to tell you guys, that this one is too far away from that 10 EMA on the 5. 10 EMA is at 247. This one's showing me 58s. So it's going to have to retrace a little bit here, and I don't mind waiting for it. It's up 28%. It's a stair stepper. It's not an exploder, meaning that you're going to have an opportunity to set up into it. It's not going to be, blowing through 10, 15 pennies every second. That's not the way this one is trading. It's stair stepping up. So that's what I'm looking at right now. Joey, going into 12:15, things are slowed down a little bit, but there's still some good ones, specifically NXL and CGTX. And so I'm in NXL, and I'm looking to get into CGTX at the moment, Joe.
Okay, good luck there, brother. So yeah, I'm looking to see if Bitcoin's going to start to participate here. You can see that we do have this inverted candle and some key support levels. So maybe things will turn around in this name. Rusty, I know ain't going to happen on this leg. At least is losing it. Yeah, you're not wrong here, brother. Volume is starting to cool off, and you can see Bitcoin starting to pull back as well too. So keep that in mind. I'm gonna Again, I'm going to slightly disagree with you. I think that we'll have the ability to do so because considering what we've just seen on Bitcoin and then Ethereum decides to take this additional leg higher, let's zoom out on the daily and see exactly how far away we are from that. To do it, maybe have to go to the monthly or the weekly here. Please don't freeze me. Yes. All right, I love it when that works. So, I mean, we had a high of just currently of around $47,070, and then we have an all-time high of around $48,680 or $4,800.68. I think at the end of the day, we could climb, especially an extra $100. In the after hours, we usually see bigger crypto moves as well too, so just take that into consideration. But I'm not going to go against what you have to say. I just believe that we do make that all-time high today. So I'm going to be patient on it. It's not a bet or anything unless you'd want to do that. But anyways, what I'm getting at is the momentum, the relative strength. It's significantly stronger than what we're seeing in Bitcoin, and there's obviously more fundamental backing, and that's what we've been talking about. So a nice cool breath. I want to talk about these lower time frame prints as well too, because that can gauge a lot for us. So we can see the volume steps right in here, but then as we pull back, you can see the profile cool off, right? So again, boom, volume sets back in on that leg higher, and then as we're pulling back, the volume is cooling off, and usually after that second leg, things tend to cool down. You're not wrong on that front, but I wouldn't be surprised if volume steps back in, you tap into that all-time high, and then take a move back from that point.
All right. Usually when you send me stuff, it's not of this type.
Yeah, I know. I need. The thing is, I know that person. I didn't get to watch it.
That's
why.
that person.
Yeah, I wanted to watch it because I don't have Instagram and it won't let me.
That's
so I need you. So I need you to help me watch it.
And you don't want to install Instagram.
Yeah.
At least have it on there. You know, just like
no,
I don't want to call
I don't need it. I don't need it. No, I don't need another.
You don't. You're not about that. Like,
yeah. I don't need that. So that's why I need you to show me the video later.
Well, excellent shooter. Bro.
Yeah.
Ridiculous shooter. Here you go. You can watch.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah, no worries. I can't believe this guy's sending me Instagrams so he can watch it on my phone. Download it yourself, bro. Not playing.
That's what friends are for.
That's what friends are for, of course. Guys, CGTX is like, oh my goodness. Yeah, this is just beautiful. This looks like a dang buy program, guys. I mean, there is not too many red candles at all since 9:30. I can count them, I think, on one hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6. No, if I was a mutant, I'd be able to count them on one hand. There's 6 red candles since 9:30. Yeah, not bad, huh?
Yeah,
and she has like multiple different utensils.
Yeah,
Let's call them that,
we'll call them
right?
utensils.
Utensils.
For sure. Yeah, I'll tell you a little about that later on.
Oh, really? It's like that, eh?
It is really like that.
Interesting to know, Joey Options. Interesting to know.
It is.
You hear that, Assassino? Wait till you see the video he sent me, and then you'll know what's up. I have to show Assassino later. No, seriously though, MODV guys, finding support at 15s. This is nice. Why do I say this is nice? Because remember we talked about that 15 penny area being that area of resistance because we couldn't close above it until that explosion upward. Well, look when we come down to where we're holding. We're holding at 15, so let's get in here. And then if we're wrong, we'll stop out below 15. It's really that simple. So let's go ahead and throw that in now. We're going to go 1-1 like that, and then just like that. And let's set up some profit takers possibly here at the $0.25 and maybe a little bit above. So MODV weaseling its way back onto the scene over here, at least for the moment. It is, though, kind of tied up between the 10 and the 20 on the 5. It's kind of using a little bit of 20 as support, and then the 10 is a little bit of resistance. But let's watch what this one does. Coming into 122 here, not bad. Look, there's a seller at $1.22. Can't shake him, at least for now. Let's see if we can get up into that $1.25. That's where I'm waiting. The Jameson B, MCVT, my man. Let's have a look at what that one is doing. Let me load that up. MCVT. Let's load that bad boy up there. Oh, goodness. What is this? 11 2/3 Mill City Ventures volume on the day. 374,000. That's the thing, though, Jameson. It is a little bit light. And this is the 5-minute chart, too. Look, it's a good-looking pattern. There's nothing to argue about it. I mean, you've got great areas of support at key technical levels, right? The 10 and the 20, but the volume's super light. If you're good with that, all right, have at it. The spread right now is about 18 pennies as well, 50 on the ask, 32 on the bid. So Yeah, I'm going to have to respectfully say no, but thank you for pointing that one out. The chart pattern is excellent, but the volume just doesn't cut it for me. So now I'm just going to keep my eye here on MODV as we're working our way up into 24s. We were almost above 23, but then all the selling started coming back in. So I'm going to pack my patience on this one. It's the second, I think, trade that I've had on this bad boy. Let's see if we can get a nice little move up into that third of a dollar again. Let me just go back to NXL super quick over here, as it is still coming back down into the volume weighted average price. I'm not going to add here until we get into about 110. 110 for me is the 10 EMA on the 5, off which I'm basing my technical areas on NXL. So we'll wait for that, Joey.
All right, cool, guys. You've seen Trade the Pool here with us for a while now. And now Trade the Pool has created something special just for you. A free ebook featuring 4 proven swing trading strategies from Trade the Pool's top funded traders. Inside, you'll see exactly how they approach the markets, how they manage risk, and what setups they rely on, so you can learn and grow from what actually works. Download it now by scanning the QR code or hitting the link in the description there, guys. All right, so yeah, I'm just looking at the overall market right now. I do like this hammer candle on the TQs. Right above the volume weighted average price, so maybe we can get somewhat of a turnaround, and you can see the weakness within the price action prints as well. So a pullback, if we hold this level, then maybe we can get a continuation and test some of this high of the day, or we come back through the volume weighted average price and then we do the exact same thing. We look for more indecision around that area. All right, so that's the game plan on the TQs. We're keeping our eyes on obviously Ethereum as it's continuously breaking out, knocking on the door of the previous all-time high. ETH is around 36.29 to be generous on that, so about 30 pennies away from that one. So not horrible, not horrible. I haven't looked at Tesla since I said I was going to stop trading it. And then now, yeah, let's take a look at some of the top volume names to see if we can find something. Also, guys, if there's anything that you want me to go over, just put it in the chat. I'll do so. Options chain related, options related, whatever it is. I'll go through a couple of the names that you guys desire. But first, we're going to go through some of the top volume. So we got NVDA with 105 million shares. I mean, we've seen more by this point throughout the day before, so that's interesting. TSLL, again, we were trading that with 98.9 million shares. SQs, wow, those people must be getting smoked on that one. 93, yeah, exactly. That's the mask.
Yes,
the mask, right?
That was good, dude.
Yeah,
that was a good catch. That's an old ass movie.
Yeah, the mask. Shout out Jim Carrey.
One of my faves. Is that where Cameron Diaz made like her?
Was that who was in it?
Yeah,
who was in it? Yeah. You know what? One of the low-key funniest, I think, Jim Carrey movies is Cable Guy.
Cable Guy?
Oh, you never watched Cable Guy? Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah?
INTC with 80 million and ETHA sitting in that 5th place with 78.9 million shares traded on the session. And then now you can see we're just consolidating. The longer we consolidate, the more chances of a likelihood pullback here into some areas. Hopefully it's not too deep and too ferocious, exactly what I'm looking for. So we'll be patient. Again, we're going to wait for a precise entry. It's unfortunate that we didn't take advantage of it down here, because that volume really kicked in, punching it towards that all-time high, and that's exactly what we want to see. And surprisingly, we had the poll up, Sharif. 49% of the voters on over 1,800 votes said that ETH will hit its all-time high today.
What do we need to make all-time high?
$100, almost $100.
Like, what's the price level?
40s. The all-time high is 48 something, and our high was like 47 or something like this throughout the day. What are we trading? Because you have the actual
47, 37.
Yeah,
Joey, bro. Okay, let's.
We're right there.
Up, Joey.
We're right there.
Should we pull up the weekly?
Yeah,
we're gonna do it live.
Yeah, we did it live.
We did it live. Assassino. Let's have a look at the chart, brother. 40. Okay, Joey. Here's what I see. Assassino. There we go. We got 48.66, Joey. 48.66. The high of the day, 47.68.
Yeah, exactly.
$120.
Yeah, $100, and then that's it.
Go,
so I think
let's freaking go. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this.
Yeah,
are we going to get a reversion when we hit that, or are we on our way to 5,000?
You know,
resistance levels.
You know what? I think that's a pretty difficult question, considering what some of these analysts are calling it Ethereum's 2017 moment in likes to Bitcoin. If that's going to be the case, I wouldn't be surprised if we punch through and head to $5,000 at all. Right? Considering that we just seen a pullback in it, it held the $4,200 relatively well, and then in a span of a couple sessions, you're right back towards that previous peak, that pivot high. I like our chances of breaching that, especially in the after hours, and then holding it as well.
And
too.
weekends. We always see crypto making a move
and on the weekends.
Right? Like,
and then also with a potential rate cut, this is what we were saying earlier as well too, Sharif.
Yes,
I think that's going to be really positive for the crypto space, and most definitely Ethereum and Bitcoin, that is for sure, if we do get that 25 bips.
I agree, man. I agree. Okay, you guys have been yelling about NEO for a hot minute now. Now, I typically don't look at these non-small cap gappers, but we will do that, even though NEO is not a small capper at all. Oh my God! Look, Joey, look at that daily chart on NEO.
Yeah, I know it's tough.
Oh
man.
Baby, yeah, man.
And and there's no reverse splits in there, is there?
No, sir. There are none.
Yeah.
There are none. I remember this, man. I remember this at 30s. The Katina man was trading this like an animal back in the COVID days, like in the 30s. I'll never forget it. Like I just remember that very vividly as a viewer of the show. Let's look at NEO on the 5 minute though. This is a great look. So. A little bit of a side story here. I have a friend, he works at the gym that I go to every day, and he has been DCAing into NEO, I think for a few years now. He got in the 30s, and now I think he has an average cost of either 6 or 7 something. So this guy's been bag holding for years and DCAing aggressively. I think he's 900 or 1,000 shares deep right now of NEO, and I'm not advocating this at all, but I kind of feel good for him here because I always felt bad. I always told him to punch out, you know, just cut your losses where you are and then kind of move on to the next thing. But he was pretty adamant about it, and clearly, you know, it looked like he may be right here, Joey, at least in the short term. 18, almost 0.5% on the day. Shout out to Nabil, man. I hope he makes all his money back and maybe even then some, man. I'm not going to hate on the guy. I tried to give him the best advice I could, but, you know, you don't want to tell anybody to
You got to let people manage their own thing as well, too, you know what I mean? So
you know, but he asked, right? So that's the look right now. NEO is, look, guys, TA on NEO, 10 EMA on the 5. There's been no closing prints below that 10 EMA on the 5 all day. You've wicked a couple of times below it. A few times, correction. So if you're basing your out on the 20 EMA or any reasonable amount below the 10 EMA, you've been fine. We're a penny or two off the high of the day. There's nothing bad to say about this. Pick it up off the 10 EMA if it allows you, and then, you know, ride it until it makes maybe the breach of the 20. So that's what I would say for NEO. I don't trade these ones, but that's my look on it right there, Joseph. So keep tabs on that. What do you got?
Absolutely. So I'm just going to dabble in here. We'll go small, but we'll look for the break of the high. Considering we're consolidating and forming this bull flag, we also have that 1 minute candle sitting on top of the range, which I also like. And there you go. You get a little bit of a pop. Again, I'm not looking for too much, especially if we do fail to put in a new high of the day. I just wanted to get involved on that bull flag, and that's what I'm talking about with relative strength. There it is, bang. This is exactly what we want to see here. So that's a pretty good look on Ethereum. I'm going to post up at 3605. Just because I think that can be a potential target if we don't fail. We knocked on that door. We are currently rejecting it, but I will put up a 30% offer right there to see if we can run into that level again. And then all I'm risking here is a couple of pennies. I'm not holding on to this whatsoever for long, just in case it decides that it wants to break down. But that I also want to keep an eye on Bitcoin just in case it decides to rally as well too. So that's not bad. We got to get that sorted out. So I wouldn't be surprised if I caught a fill here. And then here it is on Bitcoin. Maybe we'll get involved in this name too, just to see if it can go and test that high of the day. The only thing I'm being cautious about is this inverted hammer candle. One thing to note, again, is that the volume isn't substantially large, so maybe we can get somewhat of a rebound here as well. But Ethereum, see if we can catch that fill in a couple of pennies. Relative strength continuously strong. And there we go. We caught it. Let's go, man. That's exactly what we want to see. I'll pull it back up. And then now with that being said, I think we can break that high as as long as the volumes. You can see it here. Let me zoom in, and then you can slowly see it start to step higher. And then you also want to focus on the tape to look for the strength, right? So you can see that we're getting these continuous offers, and then you can see it flush green, flush green, flush green. And then when we flush to the downside at the bid, it's not as reactive as it is to the opposite side of the party, all right? So just keep that in mind. We have a $10 super chat. This is the move for ETH. All BTC needs to do is take 117, and it happens over the next 2 hours. I 100% agree with you. And you know what, Rusty? I'm going to be honest with you. You and I have not seen eye to eye on a lot of things, but it's the respectful conversations that we have. And that's why I appreciate your opinion, because it's like, hey, if everyone just agreed with everyone and we're yes men, then it wouldn't be as fun. But there it is. Ethereum, oh my days. What a pop that we're experiencing on Ethereum there. Oh my days. Yeah, that's great stuff.
Joey.
Yeah, that is great stuff. Okay, Sharif, we must be there. We must be almost there at the previous all-time high. Yeah. But there you go, Rusty.
47.69, Joey. We're still going.
Okay. But to add to your point there, Rusty, you got to pop in Bitcoin, and then you've seen an additional move in Ethereum as well too. So why am I trading Tesla when we have assets like that are going absolutely nuts?
Buvin, I'm not seeing the one you're talking about, brother. HCTR, you just tagged me. HCTR. Do you mean HTCR? Is that what you mean, Buvin? HTCR? Because you wrote HC. Let me know, because that one is moving.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Adair.
I was going to say, I think it could be HTCR, because that's like actually looking pretty...
Yeah, it's up 37%, so it jives that makes sense. 89 penny high. Let me show you exactly what our man Buvin there is talking about. By the way, guys, we're doing it live on CGTX. Let's see where this one's got the juice to keep going. So let's look here for HTCR, Buvin. This is south of $1. We've got a high of Dave, 89 pennies, 83 pennies currently trading at above the 10 EMA. Again, one of those ones where it's a bit anomalous, where the volume weighted average price is higher than the 10 EMA, and that's because of the aggressive price action to the high side. So be on the lookout here for this one. But Bubba, you know how I feel about these sub $1 stocks, brother. And I don't see too much in the way of volume quite yet. It's got about 3.2 million shares traded on an 80 penny name. So we're gonna wait on that one a little bit, Buvin. Let me know though if it breaks that dollar. In fact, here's what I'm gonna do, Bud. I'm gonna throw the alert out there at around 91 pennies. Let me know when it's weaseling into that dollar area. But CGTX, we're long on this one. Pulled in a little bit to the 10 EMA, picked some up. I could have wet the beak there at 65. I actually canceled the order to get out. So we'll let this one run a little bit. But I want to bring your attention back to Open Door if I can find it. It is kind of putting in higher lows now. It's not exactly rocketing up, right? But there does seem to be a bit of a trend with these higher lows. There is that 35 seller that has been basically there all day. Take a gander, right? When we got up to 45, we flat topped, and I was biased that we would flat top break. This was my loser on the day, right? Or call that. And then once we broke down below 35, we held generally 20, but we've been rejecting that 35 penny area a whole bunch of times. So at the risk of sounding wrong twice on one name, I kind of feel like we are accumulating for a flat top break here into 435. We certainly didn't do it at 45. I was wrong there. So I'm going to keep my eye on this one. I'm definitely looking for another trade here on Open, especially if it continues to go. But for the moment, I'm going to insist on that 35 break there, Joey. So we'll keep tabs on that.
Absolutely.
What else are you guys looking at there? All right, tag me if there's anything else moving. Otherwise, I've really got nothing, Joey.
Yeah, same. So I'm all out of that Ethereum trade, and that's what we were looking for, just a small pop in the price action, and the volume started to kick in as well. So now we just ran back into the support level, but that's what I was talking about. This is scout mode right here. So you take a move there, pop, you take it off, and then you get that additional pop, and you just take a little bit more off there. Adair, what do you got for us?
Yeah, I mean, maybe keep an eye on some of these steel names. We have comments coming from Mark Carney, Prime Minister of Canada, and he said that steel is a key topic in the quote-unquote intensive trade discussions with the U.S., so maybe keep an eye on names like NUE, Nucor. But let's talk about the market, too. I just want to remind you guys, Donald Trump has yet to appear at his announcement scheduled for 12 p.m. Eastern, so he is almost 45 minutes late currently, but 37 minutes late. We are currently waiting again on Donald Trump in case people are wondering what did Donald Trump announce. He has not announced anything yet, but again, if and when that changes, I will let you know right away. Back to you.
there very much for that. So here it is. So we got a nice base at 35.90 on ETHA, and we're continuously holding that. And to add to Rusty's point, if Bitcoin decides that it wants to participate in the rally, then you're going to see it kind of curl over and flow over into Ethereum, and then it's just going to continue that trajectory northeast, in my opinion anyways. Okay. Obviously, anything can change at that point. So yeah, that's what we got going on, and it's, you can see here on the tape is every time you run into those levels, you get that defense, and that's going to be those flushes at the ask and above the ask. So that's why you kind of use that gradient fill. You can see the darker print here. I'll see if I can like just freeze it for a second. So you see the light green and then the darker green. For me, that's at the ask and above the ask, and then the exact same thing here with the red prints. You can see a light red, and then the darker red comes at the bid and below the bid. And for me, that just can display the aggression. And then obviously, if you want to get really technical, you'll see me do this from once in a while here, guys. And that's just filter the tape. So with this one, I'd have to go significantly higher. But what that can display is an imbalance, right? So you're going to look for ladders. And what do I mean by a ladder? So it's just continuous lot sizes throughout the tape where it can potentially lead the price action to go, especially if those immediate bids and offers are continuously getting filled on each respective side. So here you can see displayed that the asks are getting filled more aggressively than what we're seeing displayed on the bids. And then it's the continuous ladder through this size. And if I filter it a little bit more, which I'll do so we can see it clearly, once we really like eliminate a lot of the smaller size, you can see the imbalance on the strength, especially on the ask in this specific underlying asset, and you can correlate that with what's going on in the actual price action. Now we know with the time of the level 2, can be misleading. We have icebergs, but one thing that I was taught in my earlier days of tape reading is that the tape will never lie. Right? So those are actual real-time transactions opposed to what you see on the level 2. You get that spoofing, right? You get offers lifted and removed. You can't remove anything on the time of sales. So that's what I always keep an eye out on. To be honest with you, I prefer the tape. I don't know how you feel about that, Sharif. Yep. I like tape over book. How about you?
All right, tape over book?
Yeah.
I find it really hard to read the tape with the small cap gappers, Joey, but I do, to build on your point, I do look at the color. The color gives me a quick, basically synopsis, a quick summary of who's in control at any one side. And we're talking about the seconds here with these small cap gappers who shift momentum quite quickly. You guys are telling me about open door. I'm in, and I tried to get in way earlier. I missed my entry. I tried to punch in at 37s. It didn't have me. It popped up without me. There's a seller at 43s. There's the first beak wetter, 44s. There is into 45s now. We're waiting at 45s as well. Got a nice position on this one. So let's see if we can work our way up here on open door. It's got to cross 45s for us to get printed. There's a substantial amount of size at $4.45. Several thousand lots. Let's see if we're able to take out that level. Boom! Through that level again into 47s now. Open door, very close to that 50 penny area, but I need to bring to your attention the fact that no closing prints have closed above 50 pennies today. In fact, no closing prints, unless this candle closes, have actually closed above 445. So, we're definitely not out of the clear quite yet. And we're doing it freaking live on CGTX as well. We've got 59s on here. We just printed 68s. So this one's got the juice. Let's see if it keeps going over here. I should be buying this up on the 10 EMA. Gave me an opportunity on a bit of a dip. I didn't add into the position. That's on me. So we'll continue to hold possibly into that high a day. Still watching here OPEN as it zigs and zags with 47. As I mentioned, we're waiting at 48. So we're not that far away from said level. Let's see if we can keep going here on OPEN. It's got a 4 candle aggressive green pattern into that $0.50. But, we've seen this story before with the $0.50. It has been a staunchy little bugger in terms of being a technical resistance level. So I'm just watching right now, guys. Let's see if we can kind of take out that level. I'll be pumped. I barely trade these small caps, but I will try today. Shout out to Marcos Morales. Brother, if you're going to trade them, I couldn't be happier, but I really need to be annoying and tell you to practice sound risk management. You probably already know that, but I would feel I would feel wrong if I didn't say that out loud again. So just make sure you're quick with it, because these things, they don't hang out in any one level for all that long. And one thing I will do, hopefully going into next week, I'm going to set up hotkeys with offsets, right? So the software we have has hotkeys, but they're not like the hotkeys that I was used to on my system. So I've just got to make some technical adjustments on how to use the hotkeys, because I think it will really help me in my profit taking and my entries with these small cap gappers. And one of the OGs who trades small caps, y'all know who he is. He uses hotkeys all the time, almost for everything. So I'm at a disadvantage by not using these hotkeys, especially with how quickly these small cappers move on the day. So I just want a little rant about that. Can you make a video on that? It would be super helpful, says Chaze. On the hotkeys, brother, but the hotkeys are specific to P8, we're calling it?
Yeah.
P8.
Yeah.
I would love to show you for every other software, but we don't have access. So that would be hard, unless you're trading at real trading, in which case you're using P8, in which case, sure, I'll do it. We'll probably put it online as well. Scott H, or like the small cap gapper extraordinaire. There you go, my man. I know you've been watching for a minute. Shout out to Scott H, baby. Small cap gapper trader extraordinaire. He knows what's good. Shout out to my man. All right, so that's all we've got on at the moment, guys. We're breaking into 47s here on open. We're waiting at 48s. That's really the next profit taker. And then as well on CGTX, we're waiting at 69s. It's showing me 66s, Joey.
Absolutely. Yeah, Miami, you're right. Miami Dragon, you're right. It's essentially kind of the same setup, right? But it's the script orders that are slightly different, right? So I know with other platforms, it's actually code that you need to use to implement that here. Not so much. You can just do that. Boom, percentage metric, and then create that. So simplistic in that manner. Yeah, I mean, guys, do I just try to get in at the lower end of this range on Ethereum again? So if we get a pullback and we hold this level, then I like our chances. But again, it's just the strength. The strength is there. So I'm not going to complain and try to force anything, because you never know what can happen, obviously. This is a nice shelf right here. And if it decides to give way, then that's not going to be a good time. But I'm going to be keeping my eyes on Bitcoin right now. I think the crypto space is relatively hot. Some of these equities are really starting to pull back in. XXRP, an individual asked me to take a look at this one, the Jameson. So I'm like, yeah, for sure, brother. Let's take a look at XXRP. That's going to be the 2X XRP ETF. So that's double leveraged right there. Again, leveraged ETFs, not investment vehicles. Don't forget that. Ask me how I know. And then sure enough, yeah.
I feel like there's a lesson to be learned.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, but at the end of the day, I didn't lose any money. I just didn't know. I made a little bit. I just didn't know that just due to the decay of them, that it's like, hey, it's not a long-term investment.
I was listening to your lesson with Nimble.
Yeah. So for me with that, that's how that works. Essentially, you get the decay in these leverage ETFs. They're more intraday trading vehicles. Okay, so that's what you want to use them for, and shorter duration swings. They're just not longer term duration swings. Because if you look at XRP, you can see that this ETF took specifically a 50% pullback. Right, and with that being said, that means XRP probably only pulled back a quarter. So if XRP pulls back 50%, this thing is worth nothing at the end of the day, right? So just keep that in mind. XXRP not looking too bad. Let's take a look at UXRP actually before we continue what we're doing here.
Yeah, we're gonna start the news soon.
Yeah, Joey. UXRP. Yeah, I love that. We'll do that. So here's the ProShares XRP ETF, and right now I've seen it in the likes of ETHA when it first came out and was launched. Liquidity issues, and we're seeing that with UXRP. So anything can happen if XRP comes up with a significant use case. I know the transaction speed is absolutely phenomenal on the chain, so that's good. So if you get the adoption from Wall Street into this, you're going to see that liquidity really start to step in this underlying asset, and it's going to make it a lot more simplistic to trade. Right now, you don't want to be trading this, in my opinion, from an intraday standpoint, just due to liquidity issues, because you don't know where that next print is going to come. It could be 15 cents higher, 10 cents higher, whatever it may be. It's just tough getting in and out on names that look like this there, Sharif.
Well said, Joey. Yeah, I was just going back and forth with Wannabe Trader. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Wannabe. Open does have a bit of a wall at that $0.50 area. You know, as we mentioned, no closing prints today above $4.45, and really barely any prints above 450, saving except for this topping tail candle right here, which led to a reversion all the way back down into 4 mid-teens. So we're in it now. I'm looking for a beak wetter below that 50 penny area. Let's see if it weasels up there. I'm all eyes. All right, CGTX, done this trade. Scalp into 70s, pleased. But we've got another dip trade here to defend the 10 EMA. I've got it at 61s. The bid is showing me 62s now, so let's see if we get it. Anything below the 10 EMA, I'm out. Simple as that. So we're front running the 10 EMA by a couple of shekels, and if it holds, fantastic. If it doesn't, we're out. We'll give some back, but it'll be a lot less than what we made because we took about, I want to say 12 pennies on this name. So that's what I'm looking at right now, CGTX, and then I'm looking possibly to wet the beak here on open. I want to start the lesson. So I don't really want to be managing any of these positions, or lesson, what am I, like a year ago? We're going to start the news. And so I don't really want to be managing these while we're keeping tabs on the news. I can set alerts and stops and stuff, which is fine. But, you know, I like to keep my eye on things, Joey. It's, I don't really like to fly blind. So maybe we'll flatten out a little bit over here. All right, let's start the news. Guys, there is a whole bunch to talk about. Obviously, let's start first with what was said by Jerome Powell during, let me see, there it is, during his Fed speech. Dara will be able to add a lot more color onto this, but, sorry, am I not plugged in? Assassino, are you? I'm offline?
Yeah,
because my thing disconnected.
your thing disconnected.
Oh, that's why. Okay, I didn't know. All right, go ahead, Dara.
I wanted to let you guys know, Nvidia here responding to that report from the information suggesting that the company has told some of its component suppliers to suspend production work on the H20. Now, apparently, a Nvidia spokesperson saying that the company, quote, constantly manages their supply chain to address market conditions. So not really addressing the story. But again, we'll probably get into that story during the news segment. So I'll stop there. Back to you.
Let's get down to work, baby. Jackson Hole obviously finishes up. Well, I don't know if it finishes up today, but we had Jerome Powell's speech today, and let's talk about what he said about. Let's talk about what he said. Excuse me. Where is it? There we go. There we go. Sorry, wrong one. Okay, so the U.S. economy was said to slow down in 2025 with GDP growth at about 1.2%, which is half of what it was this time last year in 2024, where it was printing about 2.5%, what they're calling driven by weaker consumer spending. The labor market, he said, shows a little fragile balance with job growth dropping to just about 35,000 jobs per month in the past 3 months, while unemployment continues to edge higher little by little, now up to 4.2%, but still at historical lows. Immigration restrictions were also discussed, and they're being blamed for sharply reducing the labor force growth, creating kind of a balance where both labor demand and supply are kind of falling together at the same time, with the risk of unemployment, you know, kind of tilting downside, but there still is a potential for sharp layoff if conditions continue to worsen. That's sort of his analysis on the economic conditions. Sorry? Okay, no worries, okay. Inflation also, let's talk about inflation and tariff pressures. He said inflation has cooled, obviously, from the pandemic highs, but they remain above target with the headline PCE coming in at 2.6 and the core PCE at 2.9. We know that sent the market down. We're talking about the PPI. Tariffs are also lifting goods prices, he said, reversing kind of the prior declines that we had been seeing with uncertain timing and a broader inflation impact being forecasted as potential here. The Fed sees tariff-driven inflation as likely a temporary one-time level shift. That's important to know, but risks remain if wages or expectations adjust upward. If things get more expensive, as we've been seeing a lot more labor disruptions, which could, result in higher wages. Higher wages has that wage price spiral, as we know from basic economics. Also, the longer-term inflation expectations remain anchored near that 2%, so they're not changing their expectations for what inflation should be. They're going to continue to peg it at 2%. The reason I mention that is because in Canada, the Bank of Canada has up 2% plus or minus 1. So they give themselves a bit of leniency. The Fed looking at taking a bit more of an aggressive stance when it comes to that 2%. Now, with respect to the monetary policy direction, Fed funds rate remains restrictive, according to Jerome Powell, about 100 basis points closer to neutral than it was at this time last year. Policymakers, for their part, are balancing upside inflation risks against the downside employment risk. With no preset course right now by the Fed, the future move, again, depends on economic data. And that's something he's been saying for as long as I've known him, so I'm not really surprised about that. Goes on to say the scope for careful adjustments rather than aggressive shifts is where the Fed really should be focusing their energy and their policy stance. The Fed stressed their commitment to preventing temporary inflation shocks from becoming entrenched. Now let's talk about the policy framework review. The Fed released a revised statement on longer run goals following its second public review. And here are the key changes to that longer run goal. One, they removed the focus on the effective lower bound, that ELB as it's known, as a defining feature. They also abandoned the makeup, which is an average inflation targeting. We're turning it back to that flexible 2% target. I have my comment about that, but we'll continue with this first. He also clarified that employment can run above estimates of maximum without triggering immediate tightening, and he committed to a balanced approach where inflation and employment goals conflict. There's also a strong emphasis by him on anchoring inflation expectations, kind of by keeping that 2% target. So that's the deal, Joey. I mean, a lot of technical stuff there. What I got was higher for longer if the inflation, if the data supports that, but no preset course. We're going to be data dependent. That's kind of what I took from this entire thing.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. And you know what, to add to your point, he's been saying that throughout the duration of QT, and I've been talking about that often. It's been higher for longer, price stability, and maximum employment. That's the mandate that he has. And I agree with you, what you have to say there. Don't cut prematurely. He's going to remain on his course. And I think with Jerome Powell, there's a lot of pressure around him, obviously, with the administration trying to get him to cut as well, too. But Sharif, I agree with everything you say there.
All right, Adara, what do you got on this? You were listening to the speech. You've got the goods.
Vinny, VinFast.
Sorry?
Adder, yeah. We got it. That's all right. That's all right. That's all right. Yeah, we got to let them know. VinFast delivered over 35,800 EVs in Q2 2025, marking a 172% jump from last year. That brings their first half total to more than 72,000 EVs, up over 220% year over year. With stronger sales usually in the second half, they're on pace to easily double the 2024's 97,000 units. They're also crushing it on two-wheelers with nearly 70,000 e-scooters and bikes sold in Q2, up 432% from a year ago. And that gas-powered two-wheeler being phased out in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City by 2026. The growth potential looks huge. You can find them on the Nasdaq under VFS, guys. VFS.
All right, Adara, we done that. Give us the take. What was your look here about what Papa had to say?
I mean, yeah, I find Jackson Hole to be kind of the least exciting of the Powell appearances because we already know what he's going to say. They release his prepared remarks, the market reacts, and then the market continues reacting because we already know what he's going to say. There's no Q&A, so it's not as exciting as an event as you'll usually get with, like, say, the FOMC where there is a Q&A portion. With that in mind, I mean, yeah, I think the market really only cared about one part of that very long statement, which was the idea that the policy could be adjusted. And then we had Fed's Hammock undercut that literally an hour later when she said, hey, you know what, the Fed should be cautious with regards to these rate moves. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I think this massive move here should be expected because here's my infographic. This is Powell's at Jackson Hole. All 7 of his previous speeches will have to adjust this today, depending on what we get by the end of today's move for the 2025 Jackson Hole. But either way, as you can see, the market usually makes a 1% move at least in either direction. Right? So this is not super shocking. You know, obviously 2022 and 2019, we had sharp moves to the downside, but generally we've had these significant upside moves, right? So the point I'm trying to make is the market reacts strongly to whatever he says. That seems to be what, you know, how it's going to be. The market clearly values Jackson Hole in terms of these comments, but as I said as well, it's a little bit hard for me to kind of talk about it because we already know what he's going to say as of the prepared remarks, right? So that's my take on that. I also want to add here, Trump has not yet appeared on camera. That's right. Are we calling the wrong person too late? I don't know, but he's not yet here. He's supposed to start at 12 p.m. Eastern. It's almost 1 p.m. Eastern. Trump isn't here. The Associated Press feed is open. They were kicked out of the room. They're back outside. They're waiting. And that is my take on all of this. Back to you.
All right, let's talk about Nvidia in talks over advanced China chips amid trade tensions. Let's get right to it. So we already reported to you guys on this, but we're going to report again. So we talked about the B30, the B30A specifically. So Nvidia is reportedly developing a new AI chip for China, dubbed the B30A, which would be more advanced than the current H20, the only U.S. chip or U.S. approved chip for export to China. That MI308 by AMD is still waiting approval for export by the Commerce Department. Thank you, 30-month backlog. The government never gets it wrong. CEO Jensen Huang confirmed discussions with U.S. government about the approval, emphasizing that the final decision rests with the regulators, not Nvidia. But it hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows for Nvidia in China. In fact, it's been quite the opposite lately. What's going on? Well, these Chinese regulators, they've raised security concerns. They claim Nvidia chips could contain vulnerabilities, backdoors, shut-off switches. Nvidia outright denies all of this. They say there are no kill switches and no tracking devices built into these chips. We're going to pause here for a second because what Nvidia does and what the U.S. government does to exports that are headed to China are two different things. What do I mean? We know from a report by the Wall Street Journal that the U.S. government was reportedly putting tracking devices into AI servers as well as the packaging for these advanced AI chips to see whether or not they were going to end up in China because they weren't supposed to go to China, right? So these were being done after the production of Nvidia. So Nvidia, according to them, has nothing to do with that. The report here suggests that Beijing is urging their domestic firms to not use Nvidia chips, while Nvidia has even asked some suppliers to pause the H20 production. Who are they talking about? We're talking about Taiwan Semi. We're talking about Foxconn. There are other suppliers as well. And this is a marked shift from what Jensen just did a few weeks ago. You'll recall that in April, Donald Trump put the kibosh on the exports for the H20. He then later rescinded that, which had Jensen get back on the phone with Taiwan Semi and said, hey, I'm going to need that H20 after all. Taiwan Semi said back to Jensen, bro, it's nice that you want them, but we gave away that capacity for the H20 to somebody else. We can't make them for 9 months. We'll restart production because we love you so much. Now Jensen's probably getting on the phone again, like, I may not need that H20 after all. Nobody wants to buy them. So this is becoming a really interesting game of telephone tag. Let's go on. Jensen argues that allowing Nvidia to sell in China ensures that U.S. tech dominance remains kind of the gold standard in AI, rather than letting Huawei and others, SMIC specifically, gain market share in China, which is a big market. Come on, let's not pretend about that. However, comments from the U.S. Commerce Department, specifically our very good friend Howard Lunatic, says China only gets not our best, not our second best, not even our third best. They get what we kind of just kicked to the scrap over there. That's kind of insulting. In fact, the Chinese were quite insulted by that, which obviously worsens tensions in the middle of trade negotiations.
Yeah. I mean, Sharif, it was on the table, it was off the table, as you mentioned. At a price, too, it was back on the table of 20% tax or 10, 15% or 15, 20% tax. Sorry, I got to hop out of this trade right here. So, yeah, I just shorted Tesla. Sorry, guys, we'll jump right back into the short Tesla. We take some off, comes back to the break even, and then we get out. But I mean, to add to your point, the H20 was back on the table at a 15 to 20% tax rate, essentially for all the sales that were made in China. Now it's back off of the table. And did the market price that it was back on? I think so. So we did see some weakness when this news first came out. But at the end of the day, again, I'll just say it over and over again, Nvidia is continuously growing. It's at the forefront of this AI trade, and I think this name is going to continue to grow. Let's
hear it, Adair. What's your opinion on this? This is a back on again, off again kind of situation between Taiwan Semi, Foxconn, Nvidia, and maybe to an extent AMD, even though they're not allowed to export it yet. What's your look?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Nvidia themselves, with regards to the H20 situation, they kind of addressed it. They said that, you know, hey, we are, what was the wording? I just read the headline. Something to do with, like, you know, they're going to respond to supply chain demands or their partners. So, I mean, I don't know. They addressed it without really addressing it. But yeah, I mean, I think with Nvidia and with China, I feel like I'm a broken record when it comes to this, but I'll say the same thing. there needs to be some kind of agreement here just between the countries on some kind of level, or we're going to keep having this back and forth. I feel like it's a lot of different versions of the same story. You know what I mean? So, I mean, there's slight differences, there's slight changes. I think the more interesting thing is, the idea that Jensen Huang said, they're going to be in talks with the more advanced chip. I think that would be great, but if you can't even get the H20 approved, how are you going to get a more advanced chip, right? I think the fact that we already know AMD and Nvidia have tried these loopholes with regards to that 15% of revenue, I think that's a good start. Let's see if this can continue. And I mean, I think there's obviously controversy with that. I'm not going to ignore that. But I'm like, if they want to get the more advanced chip in, that's likely the way to do it. Also, Trump check. He's not here yet, but the screen is black, so maybe he will be coming. We'll wait, and I'll let you guys know.
All right, let's go on to the next one. Meta strikes a $10 billion deal with Google Cloud. They're competitors in the advertising space, but Meta needs all the cloud and infrastructure data centers, to use that euphemism, that they can get their dang hands on. So they agreed to spend over $10 billion on Google Cloud services in a 6-year deal between the two companies, marking one of the largest cloud contracts reported in recent years. Google Cloud has a lot of ambitions, and we've been seeing them grow nicely. They're still in third place in terms of hyperscalers behind Azure and AWS. But Google Cloud is aggressively chasing, yes, those two companies, Azure and AWS, leveraging big contracts like this one we're just reporting to gain ground in the cloud infrastructure race. The deal follows Google's earlier win for OpenAI's business, which obviously has a very, let's just call it interesting relationship with Microsoft, highlighting Google's growing traction in the AI-related hosting. And Meta's been, for their part, man, spending up a storm in terms of CapEx. And I'm going to go ahead and call their acquisition of talent CapEx, even though it's not classified as that for accounting purposes. The contract is primarily focused on AI infrastructure, supporting Meta's build-out of its Llama model family and embedding AI across Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook. Nobody is using it on any of those platforms, Zuck. Meta projects $114 to $118 billion in expenses just this year. We're not even talking about next year, with heavy allocations of that 115 to 118 going to AI infrastructure and, yes, talent. Despite its rivalry with Google in the ad space, Meta is diversifying its compute access, already maintaining contracts with AWS and Azure. Thank you, Adair. All right. So, Joey, this is an interesting deal here between the two companies.
I think it's fantastic.
Go ahead.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Especially what we've been experiencing on Google. It was lagging the Nasdaq. It was lagging NVDA, climbing higher. We had Microsoft putting in new all-time highs, and then sure enough, Alphabet was just low. But I said this from the get-go. With companies that have such heavy free cash flow, it's almost like I shouldn't say an easy trade, but it's like buy any form of dip. But one thing I want to add as well too, Shreve, is what we were talking about yesterday on what Meta has done with gathering a talent pool. This is what I was thinking. That's like putting the best team together and then not being curious on what they come on the other end of that. For me personally, I want to see exactly what they have to bring, because that's like putting an all-star team and then be like, yeah, I don't really care how they do during the regular season.
Right.
I want to see how they do, and I want to see what if all that money and all that CapEx is worth all that spend and gathering this team and putting it together. So that's what I'm really curious to see. And now I'm glad that they're spending on Google Cloud as well too. I think that's phenomenal considering they've already beat on their previous earnings report. I think that's just going to add more fuel to this Google.
And before
fire.
we send it to Adara, I just want to mention something. I tried using Llama yesterday. I think it's absolute trash.
Yeah.
Absolute trash. And if he is spending all this money to acquire talent, he better have something to show for it at the end of the day. Because he's not just using it for large language models. You know he's using AI for ads, as well as better ad targeting. He's also using it for his beleaguered Reels, which sucks compared to TikTok, by the way.
Yep.
He's trying to make suggestions better so that it can be more algorithm friendly using AI. So that's not the only thing he's trying to get. It's not just Llama. It's multifaceted.
Exactly.
And I gotta tell you, I am not pleased with any of the three, how he's doing it. I hate Reels. I think it sucks. I love TikTok exponentially more. And I think Llama is absolute trash. So fantastic look for the advertising. But in terms of the two other segments that he's trying to use AI in, I don't like it. I'm just talking.
No. I agree 100% with you, and that's why I believe he's bringing in this talent to start competing with the likes of TikTok.
That's fair.
For them to start competing with these large language models as well, too, as you mentioned. So for me personally, I think that this talent pool is extremely, extremely important, because if it's a dud, then that's like putting a super team together and they don't even make the playoffs. And I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case, considering some of the signing bonuses he's been giving out.
All right, let's hear it, Adara. You were chuckling. I'm sure Donald did something. What do you do now?
Yeah, he just discussed the Kennedy Center by saying some call it the Trump Kennedy Center, quote unquote. I am unclear if that is a thing, but that was just said. Yeah, it's an interesting thing here right now. I think this announcement was supposed to be about FIFA, but he spent a lot of it talking about DC. So that's what's happening currently. But yeah, in terms of I'm not going to comment too much. He's wearing a hat.
Yeah, we got to show the hat, Adair. Show
hat,
my screen.
yeah,
Oh my goodness,
says,
Donald, give me a break,
Trump was
Donald.
right about everything. I believe Elon Musk wore a similar
crazy.
hat once, if I remember correctly. But in terms of the Meta Google story, Google Cloud is just like racking up contracts. Like, some people go to the mall and buy shoes. Google Cloud, yesterday there was a report of the government, or they actually announced here that the government deal for like 50 cents a year, I believe, something like that for certain agencies. So, yeah, I mean, I think it is more of a Google story than it is a Meta story. With regards to Meta, what I think is maybe more interesting here than this Google Cloud development is yesterday, Alexander Wang, who is now their chief AI officer as part of their super intelligence efforts,
lab.
he actually denied the reports that Meta was cutting back on their spending. In this space, he said any report, they do not know what they're talking about. I'm paraphrasing slightly. But so it's an interesting note, right? Because even the company, more or less,
isn't that accurate, though, Adara? Because we know their CapEx for 26 is higher than what they were projecting CapEx to be for 25. So as a statement on his face, prima facie, it's accurate, correct?
Pardon? Sorry, I'm listening to Trump, too, so it's hard to...
So what I'm saying, Alexander Wang, you just said he was going to... the reports that they're going to cut spending on AI is bupkis, correct?
Yes.
So they are projecting maximum $118 billion in CapEx for full year 25. But in their last earnings report, they projected more CapEx for 26. So wouldn't it jive that it would not slow down since we're projecting more for 26 anyway?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would make sense, but it's just odd that we get this report and then we get these comments. So I wonder if it's more about where they're spending money, right? Like if it's, I don't know.
I see what you're saying.
Who knows? I would trust Alexander Wang because he is the head honcho in that part of Meta. But who knows? Meta right now tripping a little bit lower, to put it lightly, after making that high around 757. And yeah, with regards to Google, what I will say is, I think Google Cloud is going to keep getting these contracts. Let's see how long that can continue, though, or if this is going to be a little bit of a fad. Because that could also be what's happening.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Good point.
I mean, to add to Adair's point, obviously it could be a fad because that CapEx isn't sustainable in my opinion, right? So things will start to cool down eventually, but until it does, as you just mentioned, in 2026 they're looking to spend even more money. So until CapEx starts to cool down, I don't think it's a fad. It may slow down, but this AI is no fad in my opinion.
All right, let's stay on the topic of Zuck, Joey, and talk about so apparently Elon Musk was looking for Zuck's help in order to weasel OpenAI for $97 billion. I'm talking about takeover. So Elon Musk's attempt to acquire OpenAI back, I think a few months ago, for $97.4 billion was revealed in new court filings tied to Elon's ongoing lawsuit against OpenAI. Musk, who co-founded OpenAI back in 2015, is suing the company from switching for a non-profit into a for-profit structure, while OpenAI has filed counterclaims against Musk for harassment and disruption. Now, here's what they did with Zuck. This is how it includes Zuck. Court filings show, let me just center that, court filings show that Musk and the AI startup XAI tried to recruit Zuckerberg for help to finance the massive takeover of $97.4 billion, even after presenting a letter of intent. Meta and Zuckerberg did not sign that LOI, that letter of intent that went to OpenAI, or move forward at all with any of the financing efforts. OpenAI is now seeking to subpoena Meta's records for the communications with Musk. While Meta argues the request is overly broad, they're going through discovery, and so there are going to be rules around that. Now,
hold on.
What happened, Joe?
Oh, wow. Google just had a massive volume spike right here, Sharif.
All right, go
people
for it,
are
baby.
mentioning it. Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
The market's flying.
Yeah, the market's absolutely ripping right now. So whatever Trump is saying, it must be some hot topics right there. We're going to Adara. There's Google.
Yeah, I mean, what I will say is he did just say, and this is kind of circulating right now through the market, Trump said that the stock market is up 1,000 points as of 10 minutes ago. And he also said, yeah, I mean, right now, though, it's actually not about what he said. It looks like it's about this Apple-Google story. Apple reportedly exploring using Google Gemini AI to power revamped Siri. So another good catalyst for Google. Again, I'm seeing this report. Apple reportedly exploring using Google Gemini AI to power revamped Siri. So we know we've heard talks. Maybe they'll go with Perplexity. Maybe they'll go with Anthropic. Maybe they'll go with OpenAI. Right now, it looks like they're considering going with Google Gemini AI to power Siri, which again, this has been a long-awaited revamp. Back to you.
You don't want that? You
no,
don't like
absolutely
that?
not. Gemini's trash. I'd want to use OpenAI for sure.
Absolutely.
ChatGPT is better. All right, let's keep going on. So you know that Musk launched XAI back in 2023 as a direct competitor to OpenAI, obviously intensifying the rivalry that he already had going with Altman. OpenAI claims Musk's sham bid, and that's what they're calling that $97.4 billion bid. They're calling the sham bid as well as the ensuing litigation tactics as an intention to harm their business and their credibility. Musk has attacked OpenAI publicly and legally, aiming to stall its growth and position XAI, oh baby, as an alternative. Joseph,
yeah.
This is an interesting saga because to my understanding was they were going to fight in a cage earlier this year. Now you're telling me Musk reached out to your boy there, Zuck, in order to get him to jump on board? I don't know how much that makes sense.
So if OpenAI were to ever go public, do you think Elon would try a hostile takeover?
That'd be really interesting.
Right?
That would be super interesting.
Right?
Unless there were like some super voting shares maybe by Altman or somebody else to block it.
Right?
I think we got to go to Adara.
We're going to Adara.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to let you guys know, Apple, this story with regards to Google Gemini, as I mentioned when I reported it, again, so just to clarify the story, Apple's reportedly considering using Google Gemini AI to power the revamped Siri. Well, as I mentioned when I reported this story, which is apparently from Bloomberg, they previously considered Anthropic or OpenAI. Well, now this report is further saying they're still considering Anthropic and OpenAI and making their own AI model. So basically, nothing has changed. Apple still does not know who they're using for the revamped Siri. The only change we did get is that now apparently they're considering Google Gemini, which to my knowledge was not one of the ones that was previously floated around. So again, Apple's still seemingly unsure what to do with their revamped Siri, though Google Gemini now a candidate. Back to you.
For that, Adair, that is really interesting. So we basically know that Apple is considering everyone. As
well,
potential.
listen, this is what I think that Apple should, and I heard what Dan was. So get the Google Gemini. I know, Sharif, you don't like that. Get the Apple and Gemini deal done. Get the figure out what you're going to do with Perplexity, and then start to bring in some outside talent. And then, sure enough, we can see some nice moves, I believe, in Apple.
Absolutely. Adira, any comment on this Musk, Zuck back and forth, bromance, weirdness? Any comment?
Yeah, I mean, my comment is, I don't know. I think I'm more interested in the Sam Altman and Musk element of this because, you know, they have their beef. And I think, honestly, at this point, regardless of their cage match, regardless of their previous feuds, you and I have discussed this before, Sharif. Right now, Musk views his biggest enemy, other than maybe the president, as our friend Sam Altman. Like, I think he's going to put whatever other beef he has aside with Musk to focus on his Altman beef. We know that Zuckerberg is also a very, very wealthy man. He has the power to do that. He has the clout to do that. He has the AI backing. Kind of do that. So I think that's how he's viewing this. You know, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. That's my interpretation.
Yeah, that's a good point right there.
I like that idea.
We're going to stay on the Meta topic. So there's a lot of Meta today, and I'm sorry, guys, but there's a lot of headlines. So Meta has fired.
Should we do this 1 second?
Oh,
real quick?
Yeah.
We're going to do it real live. We're knocking on that door. Where's our poll at? 2,500 votes. 50% say yes. Well, that's starting to pick up. We're not too far off that. What do we call it? 4,870? Yeah, 76. So I wouldn't be surprised if we knock on that door here momentarily. Yeah. So that's what we got going on. I wouldn't be
48.66 Joey options.
Oh my days! Just look at
we're
ETH.
like 40 bucks.
Man.
50 bucks.
We were knocking on the door of that. What's Bitcoin up to? Yeah, it's starting to climb back as well too. So that starts to participate. Watch out, Ethereum, potential new all-time high by the end of the day.
All right, Joey options, man. Good luck. All right, let's talk Meta. Poaches another Apple AI leader. I thought you were done, Zuck. What's going on, bro? Let's talk about it. They've hired, I should say, Frank Chu, a senior Apple AI executive who led teams in cloud infrastructure, training, and search. Chu joins Meta's Superintelligence Lab, MSL, to focus on AI infrastructure after previously managing large language models for, you guessed it, his previous employer, Apple. And as well, he contributed to Siri's search features. Well done there, Frank Chu. It's very good. Chu is at least the 6th Apple AI expert to defect to Meta since July, following high-profile departures like Rumoring Pang, as well, who left Apple's AI team for a reported $200 million package. Other Apple engineers, as well as Tom Gunter, Mark Lee, Bowen Zhang, and Yoon Ju, also joined Meta, highlighting a growing exodus of top talent. You guys have done a fantastic job. Meta's AI is elite. Meta recently restructured its AI division into 4 groups, led under, obviously, by Alexander Wang, former Scale AI CEO. While adding Chu, Meta is temporarily pausing most of its hiring for its superintelligence team as it reassesses its headcount going into 2026. Despite the pause, though, Meta's leadership insists it is investing more and more into superintelligence labs, signaling long-term AI commitment. I have a lot of comments. I need to get to them.
Yeah.
Now, first and foremost, these huge pay packages are not all cash. A great majority of them come through stock-based compensation. Why is that relevant? Well, number one, it's a huge line on your earnings. So many times we've looked at earnings per share, EPS, and we look at the comp, the comparables, and there's no, the analyst says you cannot compare because it is not directly comparable. So you say, why? Why can you not compare this EPS to the previous area? And it's because they've basically taken a one-line item, stock-based compensation, that they end up taking a hit on EPS for. So it affects EPS even though it's on a short-term basis. That's number one. 2, when you give people stock-based compensation, you are diluting the share pool for the existing shareholders. These are new issuances of shares. So it makes a big difference to the stockholders of the company that their pool is being diluted. Thirdly, it inflates the price of AI talent. We've seen this in the Premier League, kind of a bit of a digress here in terms of comparables, but like who remembers Man City and Paris Saint-Germain paying players through the nose, paying transfer fees through the nose? This is kind of what Zuck is doing. He's inflating these salaries. That's going to have an effect on balance sheet, especially for the lower or the smaller companies that can't pay this kind of stuff. So you're going to have a group of people who are all at the top of these companies, and then the other companies are not going to be able to afford to pay their people nearly as much. So it's kind of interesting how this all works out with respect to the stock-based compensation as well as all this money that he's been paying. But you don't feel like it's going to have an immediate effect.
No.
But there are eventualities that could lead to it.
Right, so eventually you want to see an ROI on that, right, Shreve? And I think that's what we got to be patient for, considering that we talked about this before. Llama is probably the lower end of all of these large language models, and then he also has to combat against TikTok as well too. So with this talent pool, I think it's going to take a couple of quarters to even for them to release something, but I bet you it's going to be something good, and you're just going to see that continuous growth within Meta. In my opinion. So.
Okay. Go ahead, Adair.
Yeah, I just want to mention here, Google running again here, GOOGL on watch here. In addition to this report, again, from Bloomberg suggesting that Apple's considering using Google's Gemini AI to power their revamp of Siri. Furthermore, apparently Google's actually started training an AI model already that could run on Apple servers. So even though it sounds like this is still in talks, it's not set in stone yet, Google already apparently preparing by training an AI model that could be running on Apple servers. And back to you.
Thank you. All right, let's keep going over here with the next topic. We've discussed that. Let's talk about Tesla hiking Cybertruck prices despite the fact that they're having trouble selling them. So what's going on here? They raised the price of its top-tier Cybertruck, the Cyber Beast, by $15,000. And that's in the States. It costs now $114,990. In this country, it's like 250,000. The new price, I'm kidding. The new price includes the Lux package with supervised full self-driving and free supercharging access. So basically, the Foundation series. The Foundation series came with FSD and supercharging. Other Cybertruck trims, their price remains unchanged. Why is this a story? Because they're not selling them. So Cybertruck deliveries have lagged behind expectations since their launch, with production and recall issues really kind of weighing on their momentum. Tesla's also been forced to offer discounts as high as $10,000 on some Cybertruck units to clear their inventory, signaling obviously weaker than expected demand. And there's also competitive pressures, right? So Cybertruck's pricing now sit far above Elon's earlier, gauge for what the price would be. Remember, he pitched it back in 2019, before inflation, to be fair to him, that it was going to be about $40,000. The actual base model cost $60,990, but when you come over here, it's a $100,000 base model. But that doesn't work that well when you have the F-150 Lightning and the Chevy Silverado EVs with far lower entry prices. These are comps because they're electric vehicles, right? And so there's obviously been production challenges as well, Joey. Musk previously said Tesla could produce about 125,000 Cybertrucks annually with a potential to reach 250 by this year, but warned of difficult production ramp. Despite this, the cumulative Cybertruck sales remain far below what he predicted, underscored by a March recall, Joy, of about 46,000 vehicles that were built since November 2023 when they started delivering them. Yeah,
so 114,000 there, Sharif, is about $152,000 Canadian, just to be exact. So there you go. That's a nice
we always 40K. Get the best deals
we get the best
over here, bro.
Yeah.
We don't get rinsed at all.
Like at the end of the day, Brendo mentioned this yesterday. It's like, okay, you're not selling these vehicles. Well, guess what? You raise the price, so you're going to sell much more by doing that. Obviously being sarcastic, but at the end of the day, this luxury package on the Cybertruck is irrelevant for me. I want to see the Model 2. When is the Model 2 going to be dropped? And I think that's going to be a big-time needle mover for Tesla, not necessarily the Cyber Beast luxury package.
Cybertruck prices increasing, Adara, despite the deliveries down. What's the look?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of an odd play, right? Like, usually if something is struggling with deliveries, what you will do, Booster Juice cameo, what you'll normally do is, like, cut the prices, right? But instead what Tesla's doing is raising the prices, which is, as you guys have indicated, an odd decision. And I have this infographic, too, to contextualize this a bit as well. So how Tesla generally reports their quarterly deliveries is they do Model Y as its own category, Model 3 as its own category, and then other vehicles. So that would be X, S, and Cybertruck cumulatively. So as you can see, throughout 2024, we actually had growth in this category on a quarter-over-quarter basis, but throughout Q1 and Q2 2025, we've had really steep drop-offs. So it's not just Cybertruck. It looks like this Model X and Model S are suffering as well when it comes to deliveries. I'm not sure how I feel about this as a tactic to increase sales, but it's interesting they're doing it on one specific model instead of all the models. I think the specificity could be of interest, and to my understanding, like this other vehicles model, they don't separate it in terms of deliveries of like the normal Cybertruck
they barely
versus
sell any
the Cyber Beast. So it's not specific enough. But yeah, I think either way, it's clear that it's not just the Cybertruck where these deliveries are suffering. Maybe the Cyber Beast model. I mean, maybe you're going to appeal to a higher, for lack of a better term, a wealthier client with this. I don't know. That's the only way I can see this making sense as a strategy. But yeah, I mean, time will tell. It's certainly not a story I was expecting to see, I'll put it that way.
Yeah, my take here is that he's increasing margins on his most expensive product because his margins are compressing in other categories. That's my take there. That's the only thing that makes sense.
That'd be awesome if that is the case, for sure. That's a good look, yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next topic. ROST Stores tops profits, reinstates outlook. So ROST Stores, the reason I bring this up, because they're a TJX competitor, and we saw what TJX did earlier this week, all-time highs, bucking the trend, on a day that we were very, very red. TJX was green at all-time high. So ROST, the competitor of theirs, they reported Q2 EPS at $1.56, beating the estimates by about 2 pennies on revenue of $5.5 billion. That missed expectations. They wanted 5.57. Comparable stores, aka stores that have been open for a year or longer, rose 2% year over year, supported by a strong July back-to-school demand, as well as discounted apparel and accessories. They also raised their annual forecasted, or they reinstated it, after after pulling it as a result of tariffs. So their annual EPS now looking between 608 to 621, above consensus of 610. The tariff impact here, according to the company, is going to be between 22 to 25 pennies per share. They're unsure if that continues to be the case because we don't really know what the full tariff picture will be. 50% of the goods that come into ROST stores are sourced from China, which makes obviously the ongoing U.S.-China negotiations very important for ROST stores. We're going to pause for a second. Adara's got breaking news.
Yeah, so I'm seeing here, and again, it's not at this current announcement, but I'm seeing reports suggesting that Trump is likely set to announce an Intel deal this Friday. So in case you guys missed it, there were some talks going back to last week with regards to the U.S. potentially taking an equity stake in Intel or specifically converting the CHIPS Act grants into a stake in INTC. Again, there are some reports now suggesting that Trump could announce this deal and the specifics of this deal as early as today. Reuters is reporting this, guys. Back to you.
Let's go on over here and talk about the... What happened?
We both said the exact same
that's
time.
why I thought something happened.
I have no idea what they did.
But I heard it from Randy. I'm like, Randy's not punching into positions back there. Like, what's going on?
I was short Tesla again to see if we get that breakdown, but with the market continuing to climb, then it's not going to work, right? So I'll short this name. But as for, are we still on ROST stores here, brother? Okay,
finish the tariff thing here, Joey. So the companies are trying to adjust because 50%, over 50% of their goods come from China. They're really trying to make adjustments to their pricing strategies. They're trying to diversify their sourcing to kind of help cushion that tariff effect ahead of the holiday season, which I'm sure you probably figured.
There goes Sharif. There goes INTC to bring to you what Adara was mentioning not too long ago. So there, the volume really starting to pick up, and you break through some key resistance.
Is TSM dropping? I want to see if TSM is dropping because TSM has the most to lose here from Intel doing well.
It is not. It's still hovering around the high of the day. It's holding up relatively strong. I think it's reflective of what we're experiencing in the market here today. Just extremely bullish.
That's all right. So last but not least here, their Q3 EPS. Remember, they pulled their guide. So here's what they're looking for in terms of their future guidance. EPS forecast of $1.31 to $1.37, below the $1.47 expected by the street, with their Q4 guidance, though, which is the holiday season, coming in much stronger. So temporary drop, according to the company, in anticipation for a big holiday quarter where they're guiding $1.74 to $1.81, well ahead of that $1.69 the street was looking for, and their comparable sales growth for stores that have been open for more than a year, they're guiding 2 to 3%, Joey, just slightly below analyst forecast.
Yeah, absolutely. And just from a technical standpoint, Sharif, this just looks like a lot of these retail names for me, with the exception of a couple names. But this is just sideways price action for an extended period of time. Like, we're going to go back to May of 24, and you've just been trading within this $20, $30 range. I mean, that's not horrible, but at the end of the day, the ebbs and flows are something that I personally would not want to be sitting through, especially from an investment standpoint. I would rather see continuous appreciation, nice pullbacks, whatever it may be, the ability to buy more, not necessarily sideways chop, and that's what we can see here in ROST stores. I want to pull up one more name right here, and that's going to be Nike, and it's the exact same thing. A pretty tough look in some of these names, Sharif, the retail names.
All right, Adara, ROST stores, kind of possibly a competitor to TJX that we saw the other day, which had very good earnings.
Sorry, I don't even know what I'm doing here. Yeah, I mean, I think the stock intraday is kind of boring. I think, we're more or less at yesterday's levels. I think with regard, I'm just going to talk more kind of about how the market's been reacting to these reports. This is honestly not a bad scenario to have. Like, we've had a lot of reports this season in particular where you've had, regardless of the quality of the report, you gap up and you give it all up. Now, in this case, we did sell at the open, but we're not, by any means, we're not below where we were yesterday. Right, so I think in terms of the reaction, it's a fairly measured reaction to this report for ROST. And I think especially like a day where we had some pretty negative earnings reactions, cough, cough, Intuit, cough, cough, cough. I think this
we'll get to it.
Yeah, I think it's a fair point. I think we're going to get more retail earnings, I believe, next week as well, kind of more on the meme-ish side of things, for lack of a better term, like Abercrombie and Fitch, A&F. We're going to get KSS or Kohl's. So I think that'll be interesting as well. But yeah, like you said, we already had kind of TJX. We had Target and Walmart a little bit mixed as well. So, yeah, we're sitting kind of an interesting stage in terms of the rest of retail earnings. I'll put it that way.
That's fair. All right, let's go on to the next story. Zoom earnings beat, but outlook was a little mixed. The pandemic darling is not what it used to be, but let's talk about maybe they can weasel back near those all-time highs. Their EPS, they posted $1.53, beating the consensus of $1.37. That's a decent beat there, and ahead of last year's print of $1.39. So fantastic on that bottom line. How about that top line, though? $1.22 billion in revenue, above estimates of $1.21, though slightly below last year's $1.6 billion. The EPS did surge about 11.68% year over year, making it the fourth straight quarter of beats. Now, how the company continues to benefit, I should say, from its subscription-based model, driving consistent profitability when you're on that subscription, though growth has slowed, obviously, versus the pandemic-era highs. Now, with respect to guidance, Zoom's management expect future results to depend on enterprise demand as well as their margin control, while consumer activity remains muted, the company said. That's not what you want to hear. Analysts look at full-year EPS likely to come in between $5.08 to $5.14 on revenue of $4.87 to $4.88 billion. That's roughly in line with the estimates. And Zoom faces increasing competitions, though, Joey. Microsoft Teams, Google Meet, they're pressuring growth. Let's just call it what it is. In this company, we're using Google for almost everything.
Absolutely.
Whether it's your Meets or rarely using anything else.
We're in the Google ecosystem. There's no questioning that. And then also we got to think about hybrid work systems as well too, as we were talking about it this morning between Brandon and I. Is that companies are starting to push for more get back into the office. No 3 days in the office, 2 at home. Essentially Mondays and Fridays, which no one's actually really doing any work. And we know with some of these companies is that, hey, it's like, no, you're absolutely coming back to work. Didn't Andy Jassy say that in Amazon? He's
so
like,
many people.
Yeah, it's just like, no, you're coming back to work. Same with Elon Musk. He wasn't having any of it. Is that going to affect Zoom? Absolutely, I think, in my opinion. So here it is. Even though you're experiencing a nice technical breakout, and now throughout the intraday session, you've exceeded that expected move. We talk about this all the time. Thanks to Daniel Shea, I'll always bring that and give credit where it's due, is that if you exceed that expected moves on that earnings report, look for the continuation throughout the following intraday session, and that's exactly what we're experiencing on the day. It helps that the market was extremely strong as well, but there it is, Zoom putting in an 81.50 high of the day and then continuing on yesterday's report strength.
Do you think we could ever get back into those pandemic area usage stats, Adira, where, let's just face it, it was exponentially higher than their usage now?
I mean, we don't need to use it as much, right? So I don't really see it. But that being said, Sharif, I did make this infographic here showing their annual revenue from their IPO in 2019 to 2024. And while they're not growing at as exponential of a rate, they're not slowing down either. Like in terms of they're not actually like, I mean, they're slowing down, but they're not having a decrease here in annual revenue, right? So I think that is still significant. I mean, being flat or plateauing or being stagnant, that's obviously not ideal, but it's certainly better than the flip side of this where you actually see year-over-year revenue declines. So all that being said, I don't think it's a bad report. I think the market clearly loves this report. And I mean, I think like, you know, other than this workforce reduction they had in 2023, understandable, you know, their growth just wasn't sustainable. But I think the fact that they're managing to carry on in any sort of way, let alone with this higher than expected guidance and the revenue and at earnings speed, I actually think it's pretty impressive given the climate. Now, to answer your question, I think, you know, barring an unforeseen situation, they probably won't get back to that level of growth. I think they benefited very well from, I think having like their IPO right around when the pandemic happened, like within a month, within a year of the pandemic, they had their IPO. I think like getting to that kind of level of fame ahead of the pandemic ended up being advantageous for them. I think they're probably one of the company that benefited very well from the pandemic. So it's a little bit hard to picture a world barring, you know, God forbid, another pandemic where they have that growth. But again, I don't think this is a bad report. And I don't think their story, if you zoom out, is bad either.
No, nice pun. But I think that basically their growth, if they want to reach pandemic era growth, they're going to need to expand their product lineup. They can't just be that sort of communications company for B2B. They've got to find some sort of other moat, because you can't expect in the near term, maybe in the long term, you can't expect in the near term that as many people will be using it when there's a come back to work move, as many as people were using it in the pandemic. So unless they're going to expand their product offering into something different and keep that B2B margin, I don't think they grow into pandemic era levels or growth metrics. So that's just kind of my look on that. Let's go on to Intuit, beating estimates, but guides slower growth. So Intuit reported Q4 revenue up 20% year over year on the quarter to $3.83 billion, ahead of the estimates. The street was looking for 3.74. They grew business across all their business segments, and they posted a profit of $381 million, or about $1.35 a share, compared to a loss last year of $20 million. Their adjusted EPS, that is, came in at $2.75, easily beating the $2.66 expected by the street. So top and bottom line check there. Let's talk about their different segments and how they grew or didn't grow. Their global business solutions revenue rose 18% year over year, up to $3 billion. Online ecosystem revenue, 21% increase, up to $2.2 billion. Their Credit Karma, they own Credit Karma in case you didn't know, up 34% year over year, bringing $649 million. That's obviously more of a consumer-facing rather than B2B. And consumer group revenue climbed 21% year over year. So easily I don't want to say high double digits, but certainly not low double-digit growth on all their segments. How are they guiding? Well, they got a Q1 sales growth at 14 to 15%. That was below what the street was expecting for, sending shares down 6.1%, at least in the after-hours trade. Their full-year revenue forecast is between $21 billion and $21.2, with adjusted EPS coming in at $22.98 to $23.18 versus the $23.02 consensus. So the midpoint there above for EPS. Last but not least here, Joey, Q1 EPS outlook, they're guiding $3.05 to $3.12. Again, slightly below that $3.07 to $3.43 expected by the street.
Absolutely, guys. New traders, listen up. First month free. That's right. We're waiving fees. Trade smarter, not harder. Upgrade to Elite. Analyze, strategize, capitalize. Our platform, it's everything. Infinite data, instant trading, lightning fast market insights, game-changing charts, predict with backtesting, reliable real-time data, global markets at your fingertips, all in one platform. Don't miss out. Execute your best trades now. Ready to elevate your trading? Scan the QR code and check the link in the description. All right. No, as for INTU, Sharif, this move up here from those April lows was absolutely phenomenal. If you look at this,
ridiculous.
Right? 50%. Bang, we'll take that. But guess where you're at from that peak to where our current low? Down 20%. But I do like our chances here. This gap has now been pretty much filled, essentially, even though we have a little gap here. But I will note is that this inverted hammer candle, or this hammer candle right here, at an extreme low, I would not be surprised if we get somewhat of a bounce in this name in the coming days.
All right, Adara, Intuit, decent report on some, miss on others. Market sent it down, and the chart looks all sorts of ugly.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like intraday, I like that 670 level. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I mean, 675 is huge support resistance on the daily. I think if it gets to 675, I would definitely consider a short. This is one I mentioned in the chat. I was involved a little bit earlier today, and then I just didn't get out before Powell, which was my bad. But regardless, I mean, like, yeah, I think INTU is, if you like spready stocks, probably a fun intraday trader. If not, then maybe not. But yeah, in terms of like the report itself, like a lot of the ones that were yesterday, other than Zoom, it was kind of mixed. We had some good, some bad. But as you said, yeah, I mean, the gap down is significant. And even with this recovery intraday, like we're up almost $30 from the intraday low, and we're still well below. We're actually $30 below basically where we gap down from. So I mean, making up half the move is certainly better than a lot of some of these earnings names have done. I want to make that clear. But obviously, it's not ideal, right? Like, I think if you went long this into earnings, not a great look. But yeah, I mean, I think could be better, could be worse is my take on both the report and the guidance, and also like what we're doing today.
Yeah, good point. All right, let's go on to Nike. They're trying to push into the trail running market. I didn't even know there was such thing as a trail run. I thought they were just running, people. So Nike is unveiling their ACG Ultra Fly trail running shoe at the Ultra Trail du Mont Blanc Ultra Marathon in France, with a retail launch, planned for 2026. Let's talk about this. So CEO Elliott Hill, he's trying to reposition, he's trying to reposition Nike around core sports like running, with outdoor recreation as a top priority for the segment. China remains key for Elliott, or for Hill, I should say, with Nike appointing Angela Dong to lead the ACG unit, aiming to tap into that $1.3 billion consumer base that China has for lifestyle and performance goods. But here's the deal. Outdoor apparel sales in China have nearly doubled since 2019, while outdoor footwear is up 65%. That's an obviously big growth market for them, even if they've had recent headwinds in that market. But Nike has seen double-digit sales decline in China for 3 straight quarters. So bigger picture, better, but well, I don't know, on the local side or in the near term, they haven't been doing as well in China. And there's reason for that. The competitive landscape is getting a lot more, you guessed it, competitive. Rivals like Salomon and Hoka, I know of Hoka, I don't know about Salomon though, have surged in trail running, with Hoka using its sponsorship of this Mont Blanc thing to gain visibility. Nike's global sportswear market share has slipped from 29% back in 2021 down to 26%. So clearly competitive pressures are affecting them, highlighting the lost ground to niche players that went mainstream. But you gotta like this move by Nike launching at a Hoka, whatever it said, sponsored event for their new shoes, kind of doubling down there a little bit.
Is it a needle mover though?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Nike needs something, dude. So they got to start somewhere.
You do got to start somewhere, and I think that's gonna. You know where I'm starting with that, Sharif? Ramp up the ad spend. Right? Get back in there. Get on Instagram again. Get on all of those social media platforms. Pay Meta some more money in digital revenue, or digital spend as well too. For me personally, I don't even know if this name will ever recover off of those previous all-time highs. Considering you're off 56%, that's why for me some of these retail names, it's such a tough space because it's a revolving door. Something's always new and hot. There's always going to be a new fashion that comes out, whether it be Gymshark, whether it be Aloe, but there's always going to be something new. And if you can't keep up with the pace, this is what happens when you fall behind.
I want to build on something you just said there before we get to Adara. And you said get online, get on that ad spend.
Yeah.
So we know one of the main tactics that Nike was employing was the direct-to-consumer push, whether through their own stores or online, right? And they did that at the expense of wholesalers. We're talking about Dick's Sporting Goods, Foot Lockers, in this country, Sports Check, right?
Champs, etc.
Champs, thank you. That's a 3-wall setup that they no longer have. What do I mean by that? By having your all over that bad boy. I walk into the store, even if I don't walk into the store, I see it, window shopping, right? That's free advertising. Obviously, your margins are hit a little bit more because those wholesalers eat a little bit of your margins. So, is it the trade-off that Nike needs to make now? Let go of that DTC push, which they're kind of showing their intention, get back into wholesale. But is that enough? To build on your point, do they need more online, like Gymshark, like these others with the influencers, which they're not doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Aside from the outlets, when I started seeing this name go into the malls, I'm okay, that's weird because they're not on the shelves. As you mentioned, Sharif, you go into Champs, you go into Foot Locker, and you have walls dedicated solely to Nike. I don't know if you see that anymore. And to add to your point, I agree with you. You need to go back to that original plan that got you to where you were, in my opinion.
Adara's got breaking news.
Trump making some claims here about the stock market, saying that it is, quote, way up from where I took it, and then saying that if Joe Biden or Kamala Harris had won the election, that we would have had a stock crash like 1929. So we know sometimes when Trump makes these types of comments, the market pushes higher. Keep an eye on the market as Trump makes this claim. We'll talk a little bit about Nike because I don't have too much to say on this, but I think with regards to like the CEOs running Nike, I just went kind of from like, I guess over the last 20 years, Mark Parker, by far, has been the only one that's been at all positive for the stock. Now, obviously, this does not count the fact that he was in power for way longer than any of these other guys. He was in power for 14 years. Who are the other ones on power? Like, John Donahoe was the next up here with, like, about 4 years. But I think either way, like, it's clear that running this business takes a specific type of leadership and know-how. And I mean, I think Elliott Hill's strategy to focus on competing with smaller brands, competing with Nike, I mean, it makes sense to try to take out some of your competitors. But also, if you're competing with smaller brands, like, does that mean you view yourself more as a smaller brand, right? I think, like, Nike still, I mean, obviously it's not where it once was, but it still has a large cachet. It has a lot of clout. And I think positioning itself almost like, you know, like it's smaller than it is kind of an odd strategy, in my opinion. We'll have to see if it works. Like, he was not a CEO before. This is, to my knowledge, his first experience, but he was a Nike veteran. So, yeah, I mean, we're hoping here that his experience in that space will give it a leg up. But, yeah, as of right now, that again, this is as of March 18th. I have to update this infographic. I'll do it before the next earnings report. But either way, like, as of right now, it's very clear that not a lot of CEOs have been able to help the stock.
No, there hasn't. But I just want to build on your point there, Adair, with respect to Donald Trump's comments about the market being substantially higher. Since he's been elected, Adair, the market, the NDX comp is up 20%, 19.29%.
Not bad.
Go ahead, Joe.
I was going to touch on Nike one more time here as well. I think that their shift also to becoming a luxury athleisure brand was definitely a shot on the chin across the bow there. Why? Because the consumer's starting to slow down, jobless claims starting to pick up. People are going to look for cheaper alternatives. I understand that Nike has that brand power, but people aren't looking to spend $150 on a pair of sweatpants when you can get the same ones for $50.
No. Their prices are crazy for some stuff.
Right.
Especially at like the originals. So if you get it from winners, TJ Maxx,
or
ROST,
the outlets.
Yes,
a little bit cheaper.
Way cheaper, which is where I get them, right? But if you're going to get them directly from Nike, you're going to pay full margin, you're going to pay through the nose. Adair's got breaking news.
Also, Google.
Trump commenting here right now on Intel. As you can see, there's a quote right there in the screen. Trump saying that Intel has been left behind compared to some of their friends, comparing Intel, I guess, negatively to Nvidia and Jensen Huang, and he said that never should have been the case. But yeah, I guess he did respond to some questions that he is considering the Intel deal for a 10% equity stake, and that the U.S. should be given this 10% equity stake in Intel, given the fact that the company has been left behind. So I just want to address that.
I look at Google all-time highs as well, too. That's Google all-time highs, my friend. So there it is, bang.
Crazy.
I talked about this catch-up trade for some time. Free cash flow, cloud, everything along those lines. The ecosystem, absolutely phenomenal. We love Google, and we will continue to love Google. Do not count them out whatsoever.
All right. Sounds good. Joey just setting up for something over here.
You are,
right. No, we're good to go. I don't even see it as a signal. What is it? E-signal?
E-signal.
Oh, okay. All right. No problem. All right, guys, let's go on to Workday. This was an interesting report as well. Their beat, how many times ago were we say this? They beat, but their guidance stalls. I'm assuming it had something to do with the unpredictable nature of the current administration. God love them. EPS, 221 beat, the 211 expected by the street on revenue of 2.35 billion, narrowly topping that 2.34 billion expected. We're going to pause for a second so I can tell you about this exciting news for Canadian sophisticated traders. Beta Pro by Global X Canada has just launched 6 new triple leveraged ETFs offering 3 times bull and 3 times bear exposure to the S&P TSX 60 as well as semiconductors and U.S. Treasuries. And if you want even better, they've got better. They're offering a special fee rebate, dropping their management fees down to just 65 basis points up until December 31st, I should say, of this year. These ETFs also employ currency hedging to seek to neutralize U.S. dollar exposure, providing performance that may more accurately reflect the underlying U.S. equity indices. If you're a tactical, sophisticated trader looking to amplify your performance, then you need to check out betapro.ca/3 times daily to learn more. Shout out to Beta Pro.
So
go ahead, Joey.
Can I say one thing about Google as well, too? Yeah. I'm talking to Stevenson Etienne in the chat. I'm like, these mega caps, it doesn't matter what it is. Antitrust, whatever, you can, the SEC can slap them with whatever fine that they want, but at the end of the day, if you have billions and billions of dollars in free cash flow, you can buy your way out of essentially anything, and that's why we're seeing Google trading the way it is, I think.
Adair's got breaking news.
Even more here on INTC. We know that Trump's been talking about Intel. He said that Intel has agreed to do a deal with the U.S. And then we also have Wall Street Journal reporting at the same time that apparently the U.S. government will not be on the Intel board or play a major role in governance if this date goes through. Trump also commented on the quality of Intel's management in the past, saying that the company has had bad management over the years. So some more stuff here on INTC, making a bit of a double top. Back to you.
Thank you, Adair. Let's go on with Workday's earnings. Revenue grew at 13% year over year on the quarter, and net income a healthy $228 million in profit on the quarter. That's about 84 cents a share, ahead of that 49 pennies a share they printed last year. Guidance as well. Decent. Let's talk about it. Their Q3 outlook, they're guiding $2.42 billion in revenue. That's in line with estimates, but their adjusted operating margins did fall to 28%. The sheet was looking for 28.1, so a small miss there. Their full year's earning forecast, how much they're going to make on revenue for the entire year, they're guiding $9.52 billion, which would be basically flat. versus the consensus. The street was looking for a 9.51, but not bad. The outlook signals steady, but no upside surprise, kind of keeping the investor enthusiasm muted. As Adira made the point yesterday, you really need to beat, at least when the market is downtrending, in order to really catch the attention of the market. Not so when the market's moving up, though. It has a way of doing that. Let's talk about their different sectors. Their government segment saw challenges as state and local funding slowed, with that efficiency push being kind of led by Doge, which is, got to be cautioned for the coming quarters. Higher education customers as well face uncertainty after the executive order by Donald Trump to shut down the Department of Education. That apparently, according to the company, created pullbacks in funding for universities as well as health systems. So not as much spending being spent by these institutions on Workday. Now, how are they doing with their AI and their mergers and acquisitions? Let's talk about that. Workday is acquiring Paradox, which is a recruiting AI software firm to strengthen their HR tech portfolio. They also introduced agents, agentic AI. We've been talking about that for the entire year for such tasks, Joseph, as extracting account data and tracking employee absences. So should be kind of interesting there with Workday.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's pull up and see what we got going on from a technical standpoint. Well, not horrible, but see, the thing is, Sharif is not even participating in the market rally whatsoever today. On yesterday's earnings report, you exceed the expected move to the downside. And sure enough, you get a test of the low, but it just decides to chop around throughout the whole intraday session, essentially. And then if you zoom out and go to a daily, is this something that you want to be involved with? From February 2024, that previous peak, you're now down 31%. So dead money, you're negative money at the end of the day. And if we zoom out even further to a weekly basis, again, really, really tough look. High of 304, and since those July or August of 2024, we've came nowhere close to testing these previous highs. You double top here, and then now you're south of this neckline. I don't know what it's going to take for this name to recover.
Yeah, it's kind of like in the middle of the price action there.
It's tough.
Workday, beat in some respects, guided in line in some others, but you got to like their AI move here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the acquisition is pretty interesting. I was just kind of reading more about this. I want to talk quickly about Trump, too. He just said about Fed Chair Powell, we call him too late for a reason. If he cuts, he's too late. He should have cut a year ago. He also said that, the stock market is the hottest it's ever been, and it's up 1,000 points today. So more just commentary there from Trump. I just want to mention that on Powell being too late and on the market. With regards to Workday, I actually think this is a really nice little intraday move for WDAY. A bit of a double bottom there, but I mean, much like Intuit, sure, we're recovering from the lows, which not all of these earnings stocks have, but we're still well below those, reaction highs, right, or where we were trading prior. So kind of a mixed look. Yeah, these CEO comments on this from Carl Eschenbach are really, really interesting. I think the fact that they're bringing up these concerns with Doge is of note, because think about the implications for this for a company like Palantir. Palantir is a company that relies incredibly heavily on government contracts, as we know. And so if we're having these Doge-related contract concerns, like regardless of what that means for Workday, what does it mean for a company like Palantir with a massive market cap that's already considered by a lot of people to be overvalued, right? Do they have to start worrying about government contracts? Now, I don't want to be too Debbie Downer or too negative Nelly about it, but I do think it's something worth considering the larger implications of what Carl Eschenbach is saying here with regards to Doge and these contracts. Because, I mean, this is not the only company that could get hit hard from this.
So a couple of points. The Dow's up 925 points on the day. So if he was referring to that, not too far, 75-point difference. And then in addition to that, I want to push back a little bit on Palantir, because Palantir is margin expanding. Like, for example, the investigations into fraud that would take a human 6 months to do can be done in a few minutes by Palantir. That's not the same thing with Workday. They're using these agentic AI things, which sure could be, margin expanding, but Palantir changes the entire thing. So my understanding, I was doing a little bit of a deep dive into AIP. It ensconces itself into the actual operations of the company. It learns how the company operates and then starts trying to maximize the efficiencies all on its own without human input. I don't really hear that from Workday, though. But I do get your point. Your point is absolutely well taken. There is a government push here to reduce costs, and that could be at the expense of people like Palantir, Workday, and some others, Adair.
But I think more, too, if I can just build on this point, I think the fact that there's more competitors and there's less spending here from the government, that could be an issue, too. We know OpenAI already got a government contract that could, like, you know, Palantir or these other companies, right? So I'm saying, you know, Palantir obviously does a lot, but the fact that there's increased competition in the space, and now we have people, again, not as crucial as Palantir, but still in the space, flagging some concerns. I do think it's something worth considering larger
Absolutely.
sector.
No, I would have to agree completely on that because we know that there is a concerted push by the government to reduce costs. So that's absolutely accurate. Let's go on to DeepSeek. We kind of gave you this story yesterday, but a little bit more information today on what they're actually planning to do with these homegrown chips that they're using for their version 3 LLM. So DeepSeek announced version 3.1 of its large language model featuring whatever UE8 MOFP8 precision format. I don't know what that means. I can do a deep dive later. Designed to align with the upcoming Chinese-built next-gen AI chips. You know, this is the first company we've really seen that relies exclusively on these Chinese chips. The FP8 is an 8-bit floating point, not that I know what that means, enhances efficiency in training and inference. This is what caught my attention. That's why I highlighted in green. It's training and inference. And that is a big step because we know the Hopper used to be NVIDIA's most advanced chip. I'm talking about the H100, was excellent for training. It did very little for inference. Now, their Blackwell version, the B200 or the GB200, is excellent for both inference and training. So it's nice to, well, I don't know if it's nice, but it's interesting to see that the Chinese chips are good for both, at least, you know, as a version 1.0, so to speak. So let's go on with that. It signals here that DeepSeek is preparing for a future less reliant on NVIDIA GPUs, not like they have a choice. The regulator in China is basically forcing their hand. The comments, Joey, come as Beijing urges AI developers to adopt domestic chip alternatives amid U.S. semiconductor export restrictions, while Chinese chip makers lag NVIDIA in scale and technology. Huawei and others are making steady progress, according to some reports, in building an independent AI chip ecosystem. I'm just going to put this, let's just throw this out there. And there's really probably no way to judge this without having some super tech nerd tell us if it's accurate or not. How many years do the Chinese need to catch up to, say, 1-to-1 with NVIDIA's chips?
Within the decade.
Okay.
Within the decade. That's
within
simple.
the decade.
Yeah,
so 10-year window.
Yeah, within the decade. Well, no, by
within
by
the my bad. Within
by
a few
30,
years.
by
yeah,
30.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Within the decade. My bad.
Especially if the lesser version of the Blackwell, what is it? I think they're calling it the B30 or something along those lines. The B30. Mm-hmm. So I think if they get their hands on this and they get the approval to sell it to China, then I think it's only a matter of 5 years or so until they get to that level.
Okay. Adara, any comment? I know we kind of discussed this a little bit yesterday. Not much to add. Really, the only thing that I took from this, I don't know how you took it, is that these chips are good for inference and training.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good point. I think in general, it's just good for China and for like the Chinese companies, right? Like we really did see that. I mean, here's FXI and your day's highs. We had a really strong session overnight as well. Hang Seng up almost 1%. CSI 300 up more than 2%. So, I mean, I think regardless of you know, I'm not a science person. I don't know the specifics of these tips or what they do, but I think any success for DeepSeek is going to be viewed generally as a success for Chinese tech in general, or I guess to put it more broadly, just a sign of what can be achieved by the country and within the country. So I think it's a good look. And I think it's especially interesting heading into some Chinese ADR earnings. We had Billy and Baidu this week. Next week, we get PDD and Baba, definitely viewed as the heavy hitters. So yeah, I think it's a nice little precedent to set heading into those reports.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out because we're going to have to listen to those earnings calls to see if they say anything about what the regulator has been telling them about these. We know Baidu definitely in there with their earning chatbot, Adara, some others as well. So definitely be looking out for that, as well as Baba with Quen. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. I want to point this out here. This is DeepSeek. This is the DeepSeek
That's
news.
DeepSeek
That's
right
DeepSeek, right? How relevant is it now today?
Well, for NVIDIA, it's not relevant. Yeah.
Essentially.
No, but we were talking about it for relevance in terms of time.
Absolutely, but I'm saying, as for the impact, how scared were some of these hyperscalers?
We were scared, Joseph.
How terrified were they?
Because we didn't have all the full information. We thought DeepSeek was doing this with crappy chips, and they had
a fraction of the cost.
Yes.
That's what I believe that they were worried about. Why are we spending so much and coming up with the exact same models that DeepSeek had the ability to do so at a fraction of the cost?
No, you're absolutely right, man.
At the end of the day,
right,
it didn't really mean too much because we found out the actual truth of what was going on.
Oh, dang. Okay, I was about to go to another news story. Then I looked down. And I saw 2 double zeros, Neil. 2 double zeros, Neil.
I can't
flex on them, Joey
wait to
options.
hit the gym.
All right. Terra Engineering. What is the actual use case for AI in China? Will the government allow AI to exist without extreme limits on output? You're bringing up a very good point. Because if you ask DeepSeek about Tiananmen Square, go ahead, try. So your point very well taken. I don't know. I don't think that that's the formula. That's just me. I think obviously free speech leads to the exchange of ideas, and the exchange of ideas leads to progress. That's just my little bias there. But leave them with a thought. We're gonna go into the weekend here.
I mean, it's Friday, guys. It's been a fantastic session. I mean, it's exciting seeing the crypto space put in some highs in the likes of Ethereum, and then we're also looking at the likes of Google starting to climb higher as well too. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves. We still want to see that rate come into play and how the market reacts to that. But other than that, guys, enjoy your Friday. Don't blow up the week, and go into the weekend with a positive mindset, regardless if it was red or green.